Chapter 1002. Same type. Whether it was the basic system of the two or their subsequent development in multiple directions, their physical characteristics and various strange abilities, and even their thinking patterns were very similar. Continuous heavy slashes, sweeping, jumping slashes, due to the attack of death caused by the swing of the scythe. Ed's hand holding the sword was deeply damaged. Due to the chaotic data released from the inside during the collision of the lightsaber, Han Dong's hands were deeply damaged. During the 136th collision of weapons, the two's already broken right hands, under the reaction force of the weapons, their entire thumbs and the flesh of their palms were completely torn apart. Clang! The weapons naturally flew out of their hands along with the broken thumbs. When the death scythe fell, it turned into the shape of a crow's staff, firmly inserted into the ground. The data lightsaber was reset the moment it left their hands, turning into an integrated circuit pistol and falling to the ground. These two are epic equipment, and their compatibility with the main body is extremely high. As long as Ed or Han Dong's consciousness passed, the weapons would quickly return to their hands. However, the return of the weapons requires a process and time, but the battle between the two continued. Han Dong and Ed didn't want to recall their weapons. Cracked, the sound of bones rubbing when the fist is clenched. At the moment when the weapons left their hands, the two clenched their fists and punched out at the same time. Count has endured the pain alone and barely recovered. Out of hatred for the enemy, the underworld blood dog arm condensed in the process of punching. The scarlet fist hit Ed's face, and the teeth immediately crushed his face, even damaging the internal data layer. The muscle tissue on Ed's face floated obvious green characters, and the delicate blood vessels were arranged like integrated circuits in the flesh. On the other side, Ed's fist also hit Han Dong's cheek. This punch directly triggered the automatic defense mechanism of the faceless skull, and a large number of gray tentacles grew on the face to resist the damage caused by the fist. However, the seemingly ordinary punch instantly broke the tentacle defense layer. This kind of digitalized attack belongs to the true damage category, completely ignoring the damage reduction effect of dead form. Crack! A crack appeared on the cheek. Both of them were sent flying at the same time. Several pink octopus tentacles hugged Han Dong from behind, offsetting the force of the flying force. At the same time, a healing-type deep-sea secret technique was used on Han Dong's head. His head was injured. Only Nicole's advanced deep-sea secret art could heal him. Ordinary healing methods were useless. Nicole, thank you. Lord Envoy, do you need my help? That's more than enough. Ed isn't a bad person. Stay here for the time being. Come out and help when you're needed. Ed, who was flying upside down in the air, used the cables that grew out from the ground to connect with the port on his back. While he stopped flying upside down, he also adjusted the chaotic parameters in his body. Even though both of their faces had suffered severe injuries, to the point where their brains were almost damaged, the most important part of their bodies was their brains. A smile still hung on his face. It had been a long time since he had fought to his heart's content like this. Especially Ed. Wangdu was a relatively conservative city. Compared to the Holy City, which often carried out investigation missions and expeditions, they rarely organized activities outside the city. The routine training day and night and the work of a programmer trapped Ed in a circle. This node turbulence made him experience an unprecedented sense of novelty. Nicholas' appearance broke his understanding of the conventional fate levels, broke many definitions of ability, and gave him a new understanding of the system. In the battle just now, he even had a very important realization, a feeling of jumping out of the circle. Buzz! The crow staff flew back to Han Dong's hand, and Han Dong began to chant an incantation from ancient Egypt. He raised his left hand and spread his 5 fingers. As strands of black death aura from the underworld flowed out from his palm, a black magic array with a diameter of 2 meters was formed in front of him. The array seal on it slowly rotated as Han Dong chanted the incantation. An arm wrapped in bandages crawled out of the array. The incantation Han Dong chanted was either used to summon the dead in the underworld or to release a secret death spell that exceeded his own level. Corresponding, Ed had already picked up the silver pistol, and the next delete bullet program was completed. The muzzle was aimed at Han Dong's head. At this moment, Ed suddenly changed his hand gesture and made a surrender look. It was not that he could not defeat Han Dong. In the simulation in Ed's brain, if this shot collided with Han Dong's magic, the chance of winning was 53.7%. Choosing to surrender was because Ed had other thoughts. Seeing this scene, Han Dong did not continue to attack. He decisively canceled the incantation, and the dead who could not crawl out of the array wailed and returned to the underworld. Because of the forced interruption, Han Dong suffered a lot of backlash damage. He reached out to cover his chest, and a cloud of sticky black sand came out of his mouth. This way, I can be sure that you are a human. I have lost this node war. Han Dong was shocked and did not quite understand the other party's approach. Senior Ed, according to the requirements of the node war, as long as you can kill me, no matter how tragic the situation outside is, it will be considered your victory, right? I don't care about this kind of victory, and if I want to kill you, at least half of myself will be lost. It's not worth it. The army under your command has already broken through 4 temples. Except for the Sun Temple, which is basically stable, the other temples are in a suppressed state. 40% of the pyramid has been invaded by the rebels, and the remaining internal forces can't stop the special invaders under your command. I'm a little curious. What is the origin of this town? It shouldn't be the regular real fate, right? It is a special world corresponding to a chain event. The system of the town is very special. The mayor is responsible for the selection of the townspeople, and often the elites from the small worlds are chosen. It is different from the safety of the holy capital. Aida was puzzled when he heard this. Directly select the elites from the lower worlds? What kind of ability is that? I have never even heard of this as a node holder. In fact, Han Dong had already guessed it. If Ridley Town could select the ascenders from the lower worlds, then other middle worlds of the same level as Ridley Town should be able to do so as well. The competition should be fierce. But those who were selected to go to Ridley Town were the elites of the elites. Ed reached out to pinch the bridge of his nose and said solemnly, "No wonder you couldn't take down the node of the small town and came to take mine. The mayor is indeed not an ordinary person. I suspect that he should have a legendary item in his hands, a legendary item that can directly select people from the small worlds. Interesting. Ouch. I'm not fighting anymore. Anyway, my army in the holy capital can still hold on for a while. How about we have a chat?" Chapter 1003. Although Ed took the initiative to surrender and stated that the Shundu army was completely defeated and that he had no intention of fighting again. Instead, he wanted to talk to Han Dong about family matters. Although Han Dong had occasionally interacted with computer science programmers when he was alive, he knew very well that these people's thoughts were hard to grasp. Most of the time, they were not on the same page. But the change in front of him was too fast, and it involved such an important true node. Han Dong started the war with the idea of fighting to the death with Ed. How about we have a chat? Okay. Although Han Dong agreed, he was very vigilant. Maybe Ed had schizophrenia, or in order to win, he did not hesitate to use this trick to make Han Dong relax his vigilance. If he suddenly shot at close range, Han Dong could not block it with his body alone. There was more than a 50% chance that he would die directly. On the other hand, according to the current situation of his contact with Ed Lewis, he could tell that Ed Lewis was a very important person. Whether it was this person's attitude toward the Node War, or the method of removing Han Dong's fate before the war, it could be concluded that Ed was a programmer with a very good outlook. Justice existed objectively in his heart and did not change his mind because he was born in a world ruled by the hybrid demons. However, in order to touch a higher realm and reach a deeper field of programming, the programmer Ed may also be unscrupulous. The new slavery system built by Ed was the best proof of this. It was necessary to talk, but they must be careful. Under Ed's proposal, Both of them covered their seriously injured faces and moved closer to the center of the arena. When they were 10 meters away, Han Dong took the initiative to stop. This was the minimum safe distance estimated by Han Dong. If he took one more step, he would be instantly killed by Ed. Seeing this, Ed also sat on the ground casually. AI revealed a relieved expression and let out a long sigh. A loss is a loss. At the very least, the node of Prometheus was given to a human like me and not in the hands of the hybrid demons or someone as annoying as Novikov. It's just a pity that the rent of 600 points a year is gone. 600 points a year? Han Dong was startled. Before this, renting the Ghost Stories world only cost 60 points a year. If we continue to develop according to my plan, the living sandworms that carry God's capital will break free from the restrictions of the planet and wander the universe. Through the army of God, he could invade other vital planets and expand the world. When the time came, he could earn even more points. However, the overall situation is quite troublesome. If we lose the war and the God's capital is destroyed, as the owner of the node, I will have to bear the responsibility. Moreover, I was addicted to programming and spent almost all my time in the data cable. If it weren't for the trouble you caused this time, I might have to wait until next year before coming to take a look. If it's gone, then it's gone. I don't care. After all, I've already reached the 5th stage 2 years ago. They talked about something that Han Dong was more curious about. In this fate event, Novikov, who was regarded as the real enemy by Han Dong, was also preparing to use the alien god in Prometheus to reach the 5th stage. Since it was just a casual chat, Han Dong directly asked, "Senior Ed, what's after the 5th stage?" The truth, the gate of truth, the same process as the hybrid demons, atavistic body. Han Dong had already guessed that whether it was Grim Reaper, Alex, Demon King Malone, or Commander Keeman, they all corresponded to divinity, and divinity must be related to the gate of truth. It can only be said to be similar, but not exactly the same. The hybrid demons can touch the gate of truth through themselves because of the blood of the old king flowing in their bodies. They can grow without relying on fate and even become a mythical existence. But we have to use the destiny world through the form of sowing and growing trees, and with the path we choose, when we reach the peak, the corresponding gate will be formed from the trees. In this process, we also have to rely on some other things. Mythical level contact. Han Dong's eyes shone brightly. He still remembered that the first time he heard this term, it was from the vice commander of the Knights of Destiny, Stalvin Mr. Manto. After knowing that Han Dong already had the mythical level contact of death, he also hoped that he could join the Knights of Destiny. Ed nodded, "That's right. Mythical level contact is both the gate and the key to the gate. Whether or not an individual has the mythical level contact is the key to breaking through the 5th stage. Novikov, you killed him, right? I'm guessing that you even used killing Novikov as a stepping stone to establish a good relationship with the White Giant." Han Dong did not deny, "Yes. I was also forced to do so. In that situation, if I didn't stop it, I would be the one who died." Ed hurriedly raised his hand. "Don't misunderstand. I agree with you killing Novikov. This guy is not a good person to begin with. As far as I know, 4 of my companions died at his hands, not to mention the other participants. If you didn't kill him, this guy would have used the god of abnormality in the White Giant's temple to break through the 5th stage. At that time, he would still be a threat to me. Yes. Speaking of which, is my mythical level contact enough? The purity of death is not bad. It should be enough to continue developing. Since I've answered a question for you, can you answer a question for me? How do you have 2 types of mythical level contact? Different mythical systems produce an extremely strong rejection reaction in the body. Not to mention the inability to grow, the individual will directly die because of the rejection reaction. About this, it might be related to my dual cultivation. Han Dong was hiding something. If he revealed the secret of being able to install a body at will, Ed might bring trouble to himself if he reported it to Wang Du. Han Dong could withstand multiple types of mythical level contact because the different limbs formed a system, but they were all managed by the brain. Speaking of which, Han Dong opened his arms. The mummy's arms were in sharp contrast to the blood dog's arms. Dual cultivation. No wonder. I've heard that there was a strange person in the holy city who was also the leader of the Knights of Plague. When he was young, he ignored the warnings given by the higher-ups and chose two basic systems to practice. Finally, he formed a unique fusion talent tree. So you're 1-2, however, you can reach this level as a second stage knight. I'm afraid it's not just the result of dual cultivation. The rest is your own secret. I won't ask more. It's enough to prove that you are human. The node of Prometheus is indeed more suitable for you, and the result of the war is also a foregone conclusion. However, I have one last request. Senior Ed, please say it. Wangdu's view is completely different from the holy cities, especially the Great Expedition plan that was privately decided by the holy city. A few leaders in Wangdu even suspect that you are using the expedition as an excuse to do some shady business with the hybrid demons. I have my own ideas. No matter what, humans should stand on the same line. If in the future, due to irresistible factors, the holy city and Wangdu become enemies, I will stand up to mediate. I hope you can stand up too. After all, a monster like you must have a special position in the holy city. Yes, definitely. It's about time. Let's go out. Before I completely lose, let's hurry up and do a handover ceremony to save some face for me. Just as the two of them were about to be ejected from the space of consciousness, Han Dong lowered his head to express his gratitude. Thank you, Senior Ed, for holding back. You warned me to be careful of pistols at the beginning. Stop. It's your ability to defend yourself. I didn't go easy on you, and I didn't intend to take the initiative to hand over the node. Don't talk nonsense. Chapter 1004. It had been 51 hours since the start of the Node War. Due to the dissipation of the brilliant waterfall, the pyramid had not been able to recover its energy supply and the fall of one of the 9 pillar gods. This caused the morale of the outside world to be shaken, and they were retreating. After Scribe Funa broke through the Temple of Breeding, Scarecrow Sam, Dean Richard, and Toga Gonzalez defeated the corresponding 9 pillar gods one after another and stripped their divinity. At the same time, Funa broke through the entrance at the bottom and invaded the pyramid. The particle radiation team could barely maintain the balance when they cooperated with the High Priest against the Scribe. The ultra-strong alternating current could hurt Funa's body, and Decomposer Walter's attack was also very effective. He could quickly destroy Funa's arm. As for the security of the town hall, it was handed over to P.D.S. from the Schrödinger Mechanics Laboratory in the team to deal with it together with the High Priest. This balance was quickly broken. A bald man with a saw blade on his head and a body wrapped in iron chains came through the gap. He brought a group of demon nuns and immediately turned the situation around. Following that, the Scarecrow and Dean Richard also arrived one after another. The balance was completely out of balance, which directly led to the annihilation of the priest group guarding the bottom. Even one of the high priests died. It was not that the high priest was too weak, but that the townspeople were too strong. Compared to Han Dong's time, the overall level of Ridley Town was rising. The qualitative change of Dean Richard also encouraged the growth of the other 10 demons. The overall combat power was stronger than Han Dong expected. The bottom line of defense was completely lost. The particle radiation team was imprinted with the void imprint and didn't dare to move at all. Once they moved their bodies, the starry sky would change, and the essence of the soul would change. Surrounding their ears were only the scribes singing, the sound of Dean Richard's flesh growing, the sound of iron chains dragging, and the sound of the mechanical scarecrow rubbing against the wall. However, the scribe who was injured by their team was in a state of anger. Hundreds of arms attacked from different areas, intending to tear their bodies apart. At the critical moment, they were blocked by a layer of illusion. A halo appeared in front of the 4 people. When they opened their eyes again, the 4 people were already on the surface of an unknown planet in the universe. Dean Richards' real body stood in front of them. "You guys go. Nicholas said that if we meet you during the siege, we can't kill you." With such a large number of reinforcements invading the pyramid, it meant that more than half of the 9 pillar gods had been defeated and the battle was out of control. Since he was on the brink of death, he had no choice. Even if they had reached the standard of true fate, failure was deeply engraved in Tesla's heart, and his temperament had changed. After choosing to complete the mission, the team of 4 left the current world. It was also at this moment. A majestic voice spread through the pyramid and reverberated in the sky above Fairy's capital. I, Ed Lewis, hereby surrender. All garrisons, in the first ring, please put down your weapons. Those who surrender will not be attacked. I will hand over my authority to the pharaoh in the divine eye room of the pyramid. When the news of their defeat spread, the soldiers of God's capital who were still resisting with all their might lost their last shred of fighting spirit. They never would have thought that under the leadership of the 9 pillar gods, they would actually lose this battle. At the same time, Han Dong transmitted his voice to all the invaders. Declare victory in the war and restrict those who surrender, but do not kill them to minimize the casualties. Divine Eye Room. It was Ed's main office as the pharaoh. Sounds of footsteps could be heard from the stairs. Ed Lewis and the few remaining high priests returned here. Following closely behind was Han Dong and the accompanying guard, the 10 demons of Redry. Besides, all the members of the Toad Squad, the Dragon City Squad, the Meat Squad, and the Execution High Priest who had surrendered to Han Dong in advance were also here. Everyone had certain doubts about the sudden end of the war. However, at such an important moment, no one said anything. Everyone's duty was to be a good witness. Just as Ed was about to hand over the authority of the node, his eyes suddenly changed. Nicholas, you still have a trick up your sleeve? Let them come out. You're not leaving me any way out. Han Dong laughed foolishly. Come out. Following Han Dong's order, 4 black creatures shrouded in cloaks were peeled out from the shadows of the darkness. Part of their bodies was still combined with the darkness, and waves of pollution were constantly released. The 5th squad happens to know me. I originally arranged for them to sneak into the pyramid and wait for you to be lured out. Then, they would think of a way to steal the Eye of Horus. Now, it seems that there's no need. As Han Dong signaled with his eyes, the dark creatures continued to hide. They could open up a unique plane in the darkness, completely isolated. Even the hybrid demons listen to you. This deal seems to be a good one. Ed smiled and led Han Dong to stand in front of the throne. This was a throne that Han Dong had never seen before, and it was also the seat that the previous pharaoh had to sit on when he ascended to the throne. The design of the throne could be said to be the pinnacle of dark biotechnology. The arc, connection, and material combination were the most perfect. The back of the throne was drawn with bones and dotted metal. The sun, the moon, the stars, and everything in the world was in the palm of the human hand. The armrests on both sides were made of streamlined silver metal, and the design of the end was based on the perfect alien skull. By verifying the identity of the pharaoh and touching the armrests on both sides, the eyeballs on one side and the eye sockets on the other side rose to form the Eye of Horus, allowing the pharaoh to observe everything in the world. At the bottom of the throne was a biological integrated circuit that was interconnected with the core of the pyramid for the pharaoh to control. In addition, this throne was 7 meters high, and to sit on it, one had to step on 7 blackbone steps. Each step exuded a different aura, and the surface was engraved with different patterns that seemed to represent something. The 2 of them stood in front of the throne. Although Han Dong tried to suppress his emotions, his eyes flashed with excitement. It was the kind of excitement that was about to sit on the throne and achieve his ultimate goal. Ed looked at Han Dong, and it was very similar to himself who had passed the identity test and stood in front of the throne. Ahem, since it's a handover ceremony, there should be a more decent process. As Ed waved his hand, the servant in the Divine Eye Room played a symphonic version of the gods enter the Hall of Valor through a biological instrument. This song was the song that Han Dong heard when he set foot in the White Giant Temple area, and it was also the theme song of the Alien movie series. However, there was still one last process of the handover ceremony that had not been completed. Crack, the sound of bones breaking. Ed directly inserted his arm into his chest and pulled out a black rib stained with black water from his body, the part of the pharaoh, and sent it to the bottom of the throne. The biological throne that received the rib immediately began to grow. The eighth step was derived, and the throne was also raised by exactly 1 meter. It corresponded to Ed's, the eighth pharaoh, and the origin of the steps was obvious. Every step at the bottom of the throne came from the rib of the former pharaoh. The change of the pharaoh meant the growth of the throne, and it also meant that God's capital was developing towards a higher realm. Go, feel the feeling of controlling the world. I made a gesture of inviting him to take a seat. A multifaceted crystal that emitted a bright luster appeared in his palm, symbolizing the world node of Prometheus. He took the crystal, faced with the passionate symphony, under the gaze of all the people, stepped on the rib stairs of the previous pharaoh with his head held high, sat on the throne, and became one with the pyramid, looked at all of God's capital with the divine eye, looked at the slaves of God's capital who were cheering for him in the war zone, and looked at the world territory that he had conquered. The handover of the node of Prometheus has been completed. The ninth pharaoh of God's capital, a Kamigan, has been determined to be Nicholas Wallen. Chapter 1005, Wangdu Destiny's Bunker. Ed Lewis's figure slowly condensed from the inside of the Gate of Destiny. He made a relieved expression and exited the Gate of Destiny. The place was already surrounded by staff members who wanted to ask if the real node was defended. Ed didn't answer at all. He directly released a powerful data field and opened a passage to leave the bunker alone. He met with Tesla and the others who were waiting outside the bunker. The data cable shot out from Ed's body, entangled this group of people, and then connected to the cable on the roadside. Whoosh! All the contacts were digitized. Through the form of data transmission, he directly brought the particle radiation team back to his office. Tesla immediately knelt down on one knee and admitted his mistake. Manager Ed, it's our fault. We clearly thought that there might be a problem in the energy area, but unexpectedly, Ed was filled with a relaxed smile and directly brought out a few cups of treasured Blue Mountain coffee. It's good that you're willing to stay and help. Besides, the failure of the war is my problem. It has nothing to do with you. I called you here for other things. Tesla thought that Manager Ed was here to blame him. After all, if they found Han Dong in the energy area, the result of the war may change. I said from the beginning, the real node is precious, but it's nothing compared to your lives. Besides, I've already made the best use of it. I got a lot of things I wanted through the node. Except for the fixed points provided by the node, I basically didn't lose anything. It's a perfect ending to be able to pass it in the hands of a more suitable human than me. When Ed evaluated Han Dong, he used more suitable human, which made Tesla quite surprised. He didn't know what happened in the middle. I called you here because I need you to give me a pair of statements. Say that Novikov's death was caused by natural causes. I have verified Novikov's conspiracy with Nicholas. This guy deserved to die. There's no need to provoke a conflict between us and the Holy City because of such a villain. This, Professor Novikov's character is indeed problematic, but at this moment, the white and flat ground suddenly turned into tens of millions of data cables. The data domain was released crazily. It even felt like Terrace and the others were turned into data programs. The pressure from a senior engineer made the four of them sweat profusely. In Wangdu, Ed Lewis was quite famous. No, but this is my decision. Since you think you made a mistake in the pyramid, make it up to me. I also know that you have doubts in your hearts as to why I would help a fellow who has ties with the hybrid demons. I've already verified that this guy is human and not bad, at least much better than Novikov. After saying that, he retracted his domain. All right, Manager Ed, if there's nothing else, we'll head back first. Ed raised his finger and pointed at the only woman in the crowd. She's the perception member in your team, right? I have some things that I need to verify. It won't take too long. Yes. As Tesla and the others left, Eva felt a little nervous. She did not even dare to raise her head. Tell me about your understanding of Nicholas. You seem to know something. Prometheus Node Shindu Pyramid. The war ended early because of Ed's compromise, and the war damage was reduced to the minimum. Under Han Dong's control, the energy area was reactivated and the light of life re-illuminated Shindu. Half an hour after the war, Shindu entered a state of citywide maintenance. At the same time, Han Dong also carried out major changes to Shindu. Since Han Dong would take away the Rampager mother body, this involved the complete erasure of the Blackwater system. Letting the residents grow by self-development without the help of foreign objects was a rather huge project. Many residents who relied on the Blackwater might even oppose it. In addition, Han Dong would also completely abolish slavery. He would give the White Giant the right to live in Shindu and manage Shindu in a more humane way. Wait, taking over such a complete world naturally had a lot of complicated work. However, Han Dong would leave these matters to his consciousness doppelganger in the future. At present, there were a few important things that needed to be dealt with. The first was the issue of divinity distribution. In the Node War, the four gods were defeated and stripped of their divinity. Han Dong assigned them to trustworthy subordinates, CEO Meat, Executioner, Terra, and Chief Blackpool, who played a decisive role. They received Earth Divinity, Sky Divinity, Breeding Divinity, and Pluto Divinity. At the same time, Han Dong changed the title of the nine pillar gods. In Han Dong's mind, the real gods could not be replaced by such false gods, so he changed it to priest. At this point, the high priest was no longer the highest position under the pharaoh, and in the future, detailed examination rules for the priest would also be set. CEO Meat, you guys go to the treasury and pick something you want as a reward for helping me ascend the throne. Thank you, Pharaoh. Miss Mary, follow them and see if there's anything in the treasury that we need to hand over. Okay, Meritus wanted to stay with Han Dong for a while. When she thought about how she could apply for freedom from the Bufo and follow Han Dong on an adventure, she showed a rare smile and quickly went to the treasury to look for items that could help the Bufo offset the mythical restriction, but she might not be able to find them. The next step was the most important one. Prometheus event exploration reached 100%. Due to the acquisition of the world node, exploration automatically reached 100%. Perfect ending reward. Creation treasure chest sent to the White Giant Temple area. The event has been completed, except for the node holder. The rest of the participants please leave the current world within 24 hours. Node holder, please also perform consciousness replication and clone creation within 24 hours. As for the talent points and accumulated points, they will be calculated after the separation. Phew! Han Dong took a deep breath and lay on the throne. Same type. Fortunately, I have an extra head, otherwise it would have been difficult to win. Programmers are really scary. I guess Senior Ed still has many killer moves that he hasn't revealed. However, the ending is still very good. I can establish a relationship with Ed in advance, and I can communicate with Wangdu in advance if there is anything in the future. It can be said to be killing two birds with one stone. After lying down for a while, Han Dong stepped on the rib stairs of the previous pharaohs and walked down to the ground. Congratulations. The first to congratulate was not a member of his team, but Gu Su from Dragon City. Han Dong also responded with a smile. Thank you for your help. After all, the Sun God Temple is the head of the 9 temples. According to the agreement, our 2 teams will share the rewards in the final treasure chest equally. Let's go. I don't know what we will get. I didn't expect it to be set in the White Giant's temple. Is it an indirect reminder to me that the development of the world of Prometheus can't be separated from this group of White Giant? Han Dong temporarily let the townspeople, including Miss Jane, go to the pyramid's treasury to choose an item. He will be back soon. Perhaps it was the tiredness brought about by a full 50 hours of war. On the way to the White Giant's temple, although everyone was excited by the treasure chest, they all felt weak. Mia, who was wearing a mask, also held Han Dong's arm the entire time. Her body was quite weak. They stepped onto the divine level. under the gaze of many white giant elders. A large treasure chest with an alien structure landed in the middle of the temple. The alien head in the middle of the treasure chest seemed to be alive, and strong acid kept dripping from the inside. Chapter 1006. The style and structure of the creation treasure chest was very similar to the throne. It was more like a living creature. It was like a living xenomorph that had its limbs removed and its body modified into the shape of a treasure chest. The xenomorph's head in the middle was still opening and closing slightly, and traces of acid continued to flow out of its mouth. When such a treasure chest was placed in front of everyone, they were more or less excited and even temporarily suppressed some of the fatigue in their body. According to the rules set by the two teams in advance, the item that was opened would be taken by whoever was more compatible with it. In fact, Han Dong himself didn't care too much about what he could open. The node was already the biggest treasure, and its value was far higher than an epic equipment. Besides, Han Dong's current equipment was completely enough. As for the higher-level legendary equipment, it was not something that could be opened from the treasure chest. Nicholas, you open the chest. Gusu took the initiative to give up the right to open the chest. No matter what, although the Dragon City team was tricked by Han Dong to a certain extent, the result was good. Okay, Han Dong came to the treasure chest under everyone's gaze. He directly put his arm into the xenomorph's mouth full of acid, grabbed the tongue in the deepest part, and pulled it out. Click! The sound of some kind of metal opening came out. Although Han Dong wasn't looking forward to it, he was still a little excited at the moment, hoping that he could open something good for his teammates. The moment Han Dong opened the chest, a strong heat flow overflowed from the gap. Pressure balance. Just as everyone's eyes were focused on the surface of the chest, Han Dong closed the treasure chest again. It hasn't opened yet. Don't rush. This deliberate feint immediately attracted everyone's disdain. Haha, just kidding. Let's see the ultimate treasure of the fourth stage of true fate. Click. The treasure chest was completely opened to 180 degrees. As expected of the xenomorph's treasure chest, the interior was also designed to be a real body cavity structure, and there was even a heart embedded in the treasure chest's inner wall, slightly beating and transporting the acid green liquid, flowing through the blood vessels throughout the treasure chest. The treasure appeared. A pair of jade thumb rings, carried on a broken piece of parchment. One of them was made of green jade. The thumb ring was small, transparent, and flawless. The inner surface was carved with a human body with a dragon head in a reclining position. The dragon spine was emitting a green light, and the body was covered with a veil. The second one was made of black jade. The thumb ring was large, and the material was turbid. The surface of the ring was carved with a ferocious nine-tailed tiger beast. The moment the chest was opened, an ink painting appeared above the temple, depicting two mythical beasts resting in the misty mountains. This, Ordivision, Jade's eyes lit up. At the same time, everyone present also heard the announcement from the system. They could even vaguely hear the sound effects of winning a grand prize. Congratulations on obtaining the Classic of Mountains and Seas series equipment, Jimeng-yin, and Lu Wu Finger, Jimeng-yin Introduction. The Classic of Zhongshan, east of the Sun and Light Mountain. There is much green above and much water below. The divine stratagem was in the shape of a human body with the head of a dragon. It roamed around Zhang Yuan 1, coming in and going out. It was bound to be drizzling rain and torrential rain. Type: accessory integrity, 100% quality, epic, user restriction, dragon nature, innate or acquired, attribute, hidden, only the holder can see, Classic of Mountains and Seas, Lu Wu Finger. Introduction: West Mountain Scripture, southwest of the Kunlun Hill, the capital under the Emperor, Lu Wu, the god. The god has the body of a tiger and 9 tails, the face of a human and the claws of tiger. It is the god, the 9 divisions of heaven and the emperor's boundary. Type: accessory integrity, 100% quality, epic, user restriction, beast nature with enough level and savage nature. Attribute: hidden, only the holder can see, Classic of Mountains and Seas series equipment. Wearing 2 or more pieces of the Classic of Mountains and Seas series equipment can trigger the special effect of Mountains and Seas. The Classic of Mountains and Seas is divided into Southern Mountain Scripture, Western Mountain Scripture, Northern Mountain Scripture, Eastern Mountain Scripture, Zhongshan Scripture, and Sea Scripture. Only equipment in different areas can trigger the special effect. No matter how many pieces of equipment in the same area are worn, it only counts as a set. 2. Set. Increase in divinity. 4. Set. When attacking or casting a spell, there is a small probability of summoning a mythical beast of the mountains and seas to assist in battle. Randomly summon a mythical beast from the corresponding area of the wearer's equipment. Duration. 30 seconds or release a powerful attack. Built-in cooldown. 10 minutes. 6. Set. Grants the skill Classic of Mountains and Seas. Using this skill does not consume any energy. The individual field will be endowed with the effect of the mountains and seas, increasing the effect of the mountains and seas equipment by 50%. It can form a unique space of the mountains and seas world. Epic level equipment involving divinity. And it's a set. Nicholas, you're so good at opening boxes. 2 people rushed out from the crowd at the first moment. Ordivision Jade, who was holding a 3-pointed spear and had the power of the azure dragon flowing in her body, and Abel, who was emitting the aura of a fierce beast and covered in dragon scales. Out of the thirst for power, out of the resonance reaction in his body, out of the first time he saw epic-level equipment that matched him, when the 2 of them arrived in front of the treasure chest, they reached out at the same time to grab the thumb ring inside. At the critical moment, 2 even more powerful pressures erupted. The immovable Wisdom King's divine image appeared directly behind Gusu, shattering the ink painting in the air. With a strong and powerful hand, he pulled the Ordivision Jade back. On the other side, Han Dong also reached out to stop Abel. Since the fair distribution was set in the cooperation agreement, if they snatch the equipment by force, they might be punished by fate or even lose the basic reward for clearing the level. These 2 items are more compatible with the attributes of the 2 of you. Since the rules of distribution have been set in advance, it's better to distribute according to the rules. Ordivision Jade is more compatible with this Cyan Jade thumb ring. Abel, your attribute is more inclined towards the Black Jade thumb ring. Do you have any objections to this distribution? The 2 of them, who were forcefully stopped, immediately pulled their thoughts out of the vortex of desire. Abel's dragon nature was that of a European dragon, which was not very compatible with this Cyan Easter dragon. In comparison, such a fierce and brutal beast was more suitable. Okay, it's just a pity about the set. Ordivision Jade's face was full of regret. The divinity enhancement brought by the 2 set effects would be incomparably huge for them at this stage, and it would even be helpful for the breakthrough of the 5th stage, door opening. In this way, the 2 of them each took a piece of equipment. When Abel put on the thumb ring, the beast aura covering the surface of his body immediately changed shape, giving birth to a 9-tailed and strong beast body like the mythical beast Lu Wu, and a trace of divinity emerged. The super powerful equipment information was also transmitted to Abel's mind. For this kind of equipment distribution, the other team members had no complaints. However, Han Dong stayed in front of the treasure chest, staring inside. I'll take this parchment. Do you have any objections? Chapter 1007. When the treasure chest was opened, Han Dong's power only lingered on the surface of the 2 rings for less than a minute. He immediately noticed that there was something wrong with the parchment. You take it. Gusu immediately gave in. To be able to obtain the final treasure, Han Dong's contribution was naturally the largest, and the Dragon's Den team also obtained what they wanted. Generally speaking, for an event with a 100% completion rate in True Destiny, it was already considered good if the corresponding treasure chest could be obtained with a completed item. Ordivision Jade was also the pillar of the team, and the enhancement brought by this ring was obvious. Ji Mingyin, the moment he put on the ring, a strong power directly evaporated the clothes on Ordivision Jade's back. And when the back of her jade skin was revealed, the domineering over-the-shoulder dragon tattoo was also activated and slowly moved around Ordovishan Jade's body. Gusu seemed to have noticed something and asked, "Do you have other rings?" "I have one. I obtained it before. I didn't expect to be given an extra one here." "Well, since the matter here is settled, we should go back." Under Gusu's request, the team submitted a request to the system to complete the event, and the team disappeared. Han Dong naturally grabbed the parchment, and, at the same time, he received a notification from fate. "Because you have preserved the white giant civilization, and your faction's reputation is greater than respect, you have obtained an additional reward. Treasure map fragment, alien plate." That's right. Han Dong noticed this familiar item when he opened the treasure chest. During the Ghost Stories incident, he accidentally went into hell and obtained a fragment of a treasure map. Since then, Han Dong had not obtained it, and even the Celestial Capital's underground black market did not have it, and it could not be directly exchanged for through the Fate Point system. It was very rare. According to the system notification, as long as he collected 5 fragments, he would be able to synthesize a treasure map of fate and go to a special fate world. Let's put away first, and hope that I can complete the collection in the future. A complete treasure map should correspond to a legendary equipment. Phew, the distance is still a bit far. Let's take it slow. Han Dong put away the parchment and turned to look at his teammates. "Abel, you'll continue to stay in the White Giant Temple. Use the facilities here to familiarize yourself with the equipment you've just obtained. By the time we return, we might be directly involved in the expedition war." "All right. Dimps, Mia, follow me back to the pyramid and see if there's anything good in the treasury. If it's suitable, you could take it away. When the time limit of 24H is up, we'll settle the accounts together. After all, it's a Bufo waiting outside. With me and Meritus, there won't be any trouble." Mia quickly came up to hold Han Dong's hand. Dimps waved his hand. "Well, everyone naturally has to wait until the settlement is settled. However, I won't go to the pyramid. Even if there's something good there, I would have to spend the corresponding amount of points to bring it out, so I might as well just trade for it. I'll go somewhere else for a while. You guys go ahead. Don't go overboard." Han Dong knew very well where Dimps was going. When he gave a speech in the civilian district, there was a noble district that didn't need Han Dong to give an extra speech. One by one, the nanny-level residents with heavy makeup held up signs of Dimps to express their absolute support for the uprising. Just like that, Han Dong only took Mia and returned to the pyramid alone. Due to the tragic experience in the early days of Shundu, Mia's personality had changed to a certain extent. At present, she just held his arm and leaned on Han Dong as they walked quietly. This second life in Shundu was an extremely important experience for everyone. Even a strong person like Gu Su had obtained great growth. Everything about an individual was restricted in an absolute sense, and they were thrown into a new world system to develop anew. For the participants, the trip to Shindu itself was a reward. And Mia's terrible experience at the beginning also brought her considerable improvement. "Nicholas, you should have to talk with the townspeople and the 5th squad later." Demps is right. If I want to take things out of the pyramid, I have to give points. It's better to exchange for something more suitable. I have to go to the organization that originally adopted me and say goodbye to them. Well, go ahead. Han Dong wanted to remind Mia about the subsequent distribution of talents, but after thinking about it, he didn't need to say anything. Mia should have found a target, so it's good that she doesn't stick to me. In the following journey, I might bring Meritus with me. Having a space element atavism body who touched the gate of truth as my exclusive charger is simply too cool. Moreover, the space restrictions in the real world are much less than in Shundu, so it can play a greater role. Gate of Truth is the next stage, Gate of Truth. By then, I can pry into the truth and understand divinity. I can't wait. Ha 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 ha. Thinking of this, the crazy laughter resounded through the entire street. Han Dong didn't restrict himself and was completely immersed in this kind of mood. Han Dong even wanted to return to the expeditionary army as soon as possible. He wanted to rush to the front line of the battlefield and try his current ability, The improvement in this destiny event was not just a little talent. The identity of Pharaoh corresponding to the true node had a special buff for Han Dong. This was similar to Commander Malone, who had obtained the identity of King of Hell. An hour passed. The townspeople who had chosen the items in the pyramid's treasury returned to the town under the guidance of the third demon, Boss Han. Along the way, Han Dong also expressed his gratitude to each of the townspeople. He could clearly feel that the townspeople had improved from the actual combat in the Node War, and some of them even had qualitative changes. Town Hall, meeting room. In addition to the 10 demons, the townspeople who had made special contributions to the war also gathered here. Mayor, I will fulfill my promise and use a part of the source of the world from Prometheus to promote the high-level construction of Ridley Town. Only 10% is enough. Your world has suffered a lot of damage in the war. Too much loss will cause problems to the world. Okay, Han Dong and the mayor sat opposite each other. At the same time, they took out the world node. The comparison was made. The node in Han Dong's hand emitted a bright luster. Its structure was a kind of multifaceted crystal. However, the node floating in the mayor's hand was another kind of material, an exquisite square house with only a wooden door that emitted a dark aura. It's really special. It's not the same as ordinary world nodes at all. Just as Han Dong was surprised, the node house in the mayor's hand suddenly opened and directly absorbed Han Dong's node in a one-way manner. Wisps of radiant matter were absorbed into the house and assimilated. The node was completely suppressed. After 10% of the total was extracted, the mayor showed a satisfied smile. Not bad. Now we can let the town enter the next stage. Thank you for your contribution to Ridley Town, Nicholas. It's what I should do. After all, I'm also from Ridley Town. Oh, right. There's one more thing. Is the coffin in the mayor's care okay? That thing isn't good. I've deeply reinforced it and stored it in a special area. Come and get it when you plan to leave. The thing inside is very dishonest, just like Pennywise. If it's not properly managed and the containment fails, it will bring a destructive disaster to your world. Han Dong was shocked when he heard that. Thank you, Mayor. Go do your thing. There's not much time left. Chapter 1008. Ridley Town. More drip, drip, drip. The sound of water could be faintly heard in the depths of the morgue. A male voice could even be heard muttering to himself. This strength isn't bad, right? It's a bit deep here. I'll help you clean it up. Bear with it a little. It might be a little uncomfortable. If one didn't know better, they would think that a pervert with necrophilia had sneaked in. Of course, not just anyone could enter here. Following the sound, he pushed open the iron door. In a clean and flawless autopsy room, a young man in a white coat was holding a high-pressure water nozzle in his hand. He was carefully cleaning a female corpse on a cart. Every inch of skin was washed clean. Only Han Dong dared to do such a deep cleansing. A group of cowardly spirits under the cart didn't even dare to look at Miss Jane, let alone help her bathe. Usually, Miss Jane would let clean water flow through every part of her body once, followed by a simple cleaning with hydrogen peroxide. This was the first time Han Dong helped her clean the impurities in her body. Perhaps it was because it was too comfortable, or perhaps it was because every corner of her body and every piece of witchcraft was spied on. After all, the two of them had been separated for so long, Jane was still not used to it. The wheels of the cart kept spinning. Nicholas, yes? Is that Mississippi toad close to you? Although she pretends not to have much to do with you, I can see that she doesn't care about anyone at all, only considering your personal opinion. Miss Jane's words were like a beam of light flashing through Han Dong's little heart, and he was slightly nervous. Haha, I can only say that I know her. We happened to meet her during the expedition, and under the orders of a high existence, we entered the Destiny space together. Oh, no wonder. I feel that she's very powerful. If we really fight, I'm afraid she can eat me. She's about as strong as Dean Richard. This Miss Toad, is she the hybrid demon you mentioned? In your world, what is her rank? After all, Miss Jane had lived in Ridley Town for a long time, and this kind of ranking was deeply ingrained in people's hearts. Han Dong saw that the topic had changed and quickly continued. Well, she's not even on the list yet. She was considered powerful, but compared to the most powerful one, she was still lacking. She has only just encountered the door. There are many hybrid demons on the other side of the door. There are even some special existences who have reached very deep positions, even higher than gods. Hearing this, Miss Jane had a deeper understanding of Han Dong's world. She was quite surprised. Then I'll wait for a while before going back with you. Ridley Town should be developing towards a higher plane in the near future. Miss Jane, as a key person, you have to stay here and help. As the 10 demons, you should be able to get some good stuff as well. You should go. The mayor said that you don't have much time. Thank you for bathing me. I don't have much time anyway, so I won't go back to the pyramid with you. I don't want to disturb your work in Shundu. Next time, if you need any help, just call us. Remember to come back when you have time. Jane, I'll leave first. Indeed, Han Dong still had many things to do. Han Dong had something on his mind. As soon as he rushed back to the pyramid, he bumped into Meritus at the door. What kind of trash treasury is this? Even the few unactivated divinities stored in the deepest part are not of much use. The divinity contained in the divinities is not at the same level as the Bufo. I'm afraid it can only be used as a snack for the Bufo. Because she did not find anything to report, Meritus became very anxious. Drops of water could be seen with the naked eye constantly overflowing from between her tender thighs. Suddenly, a hand landed on Meritus's shoulder and stopped her from panicking. When the hand fell, it splashed a layer of water. It had to be said that there was a lot of water. It's okay. I will naturally give the Bufo an explanation. Don't worry. If there's nothing good, don't even think about taking me away from the Bufo. I am one of the Bufo's most valued subordinates. You can think clearly. Without my help, be careful of dying in the battle later. I know, I have my own way. Han Dong could see that Meritus's worldview had completely changed in this incident. She even began to be tired of the territory under her management. Her greatest interest had become to follow Han Dong to explore the world. Mary, you said that there are some unactivated divinities stored in the depths of the treasury? Take me to see it. What? You want to use it? Han Dong quickly waved his hand. Don't misunderstand. I will never use such foreign object fusion to become a god, and I will not absorb divinity that does not belong to me to improve. I just want to see if these things meet the standard of gifts. Gifts? Who are you giving them to? As a special existence among the old Middle Kings, it is normal that the Bufo doesn't like this kind of thing. However, these divinities may be interested in the group of old lower kings who had just put on the crown and are reveling in the abyss. The goal of our human expedition is Dark London. Let's take the opportunity to send some gifts first. Mary nodded and did not deny Han Dong's point of view. At the same time, she also gave some of her own suggestions. In fact, with your identity, you don't have to go with the human expeditionary army. If you want to go to London, you could just go there alone. With your identity, the Mother of Darkness should be able to receive you in a friendly manner. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Let's go to the treasury first. Coincidentally, the 4 residents who looked like dark elves were still here, choosing things. As soon as Han Dong came here, the 4 quickly held the items that they had chosen, knelt in the most pious posture, and asked if they could take these things away. In their hearts, Han Dong was the spokesperson of the Mad King, the Walker, and the Supreme Lord. Han Dong also handed over an unactivated divinity that exuded a dark aura. You can take all the things you choose. In addition, please bring this black water divinity to the Dark Mother. I'll visit London when the time comes. The female resident in the lead swayed her black tail and said respectfully, when you come to London, if you don't mind, we 4 sisters are willing to be your temporary maids. Okay, I'll contact you when the time comes. The urgent matters after the war were dealt with one after another. Back in the room of the Divine Eye, Han Dong stepped on the magnificent black throne again and looked at the time on his hand. There's still 16 hours left. Let's get to work. I must formulate a law that is more in line with the development of the fairies' capital. This way, my pharaoh identity can be maximized. I don't know what kind of improvement this pharaoh identity can bring to me in the real world. Chapter 1009. Time passed slowly. Han Dong had already abolished the slavery system in Shindu, leaving only some basic management measures. As he was thinking about what kind of social system to replace it with, a bright red flag flashed in his mind. Using a full 10 hours and the memories stored in his mind, Han Dong wrote a draft of building a new socialist Shindu. To a certain extent, it borrowed some of the knowledge from Han Dong's previous world. Although Han Dong studied biology and focused on scientific development, in his knowledge of the world, he definitely acknowledged and affirmed that Marx's contributions were greater than any other scientist's. This draft still has many areas that need to be corrected, and it will take a lot of time. When the time comes, I'll just throw it to the clone to do. There are only a few hours left. I have to quickly create a suitable pharaoh body. The fate system was only responsible for copying the consciousness of the owner of the real node. The body had to be created by himself. Did he need to borrow the Shindu's biological replication technology, divinity, or Blackwater? Han Dong's answer was no. Using the previous pharaoh at Lewis as a reference, the Blackwater body created by the Shindu's technology was very different from his own data body. When he fought with Han Dong, the two were clearly unbalanced, and this was an important reason why Ed was willing to give up on the node. The development of Shindu had gone astray because of the Blackwater. Han Dong needed to bring it back to the right path. Shindu, Akamakan, is an important world for me to use to develop the pharaoh's characteristics. I need to completely introduce Egyptian culture and matching ancient black magic here. Since that's the case, my clone needs to take up the responsibility of transmitting the black magic. Let the people of Shindu use the black magic system to replace the original Blackwater evolution system. In this way, I don't need to create a body at all. I have a ready-made one here. With a wave of his hand, the body of the mummy princess Amenet stored in Han Dong's mind landed in front of him. This body was a reward from the Holy City Council, and it should have come from the higher fate system, so much so that Han Dong still couldn't use it at this stage. Not long ago, he had absorbed some of the female corpse's essence and strengthened his left arm. It was also because of this that the fate system treated the female corpse and Han Dong as one entity. That was why the smuggling of goods into the fate world. Otherwise, the female corpse would not be able to be brought into the fate world. I'm not sure if consciousness access will be rejected due to gender. Let's ask. Han Dong used his identity as the owner of the node to initiate a conversation with the fate system. Can this body be used as a doppelganger? Testing in progress. Please wait. Beep, beep, beep. Detected that the physical body has a fragmented consciousness, but its type is more compatible with Shindu in your consciousness. Forcibly injecting consciousness may lead to the following results. 1. Normal access. Your body is completely under the control of your consciousness. 2. Consciousness fusion. Your consciousness is the dominant one. Consciousness fusion. Focus on the consciousness of the broken body. Connection failed. Although the conditions of your current physical body are in line with Shindu's and the background matches, I suggest that you use a self-made physical body to avoid uncontrollable situations. All right, Han Dong did not want so many answers. He only wanted to confirm that the body would not be affected by gender. Being able to unite a real Egyptian princess who was well-versed in all kinds of black magic to rule the extraterrestrial divine capital was definitely a better job than a layman like Han Dong. As long as fate could perfectly replicate consciousness, there was no possibility of failure. Can I replicate consciousness now? Consciousness replication requires the fate equipment in the settlement area. Once the implantation is successful, your doppelganger will replace you in the world of Prometheus and will be responsible for the management of the node world. The doppelganger will also be recognized as an NPC by the system. Once the creation is successful, the doppelganger and the main body will maintain a high degree of synchronization. If the chaos fluctuation of the node world exceeds 30%, the main body will receive a notification no matter where it is. You can ignore the restrictions and enter the current world through any portal to merge with your doppelganger. The specific details will also be implanted in your brain when the replication is complete. Okay, Han Dong's main body did not have anything to do. He went straight to the town of Dre. The mayor was already standing at the entrance of the town. In front of him was the coffin sent by Han Dong. Sealed inside was the origin of the black water of the original Shandu, which was also the marked Rampager, the mother of the white giant. I suggest you pass it to the person in charge who can control this thing. Don't agree to any of her requests. The danger has exceeded my expectations. Okay, everything was ready. Han Dong sent the message to his teammates who were still there. Everyone settled the accounts together. When he was in the familiar white room, the coffin on his back was also taken away by the fate system. Han Dong only needed to go to the Black Tower to receive the reward. His body could not help but relax. The female corpse that Han Dong chose as his doppelganger was also teleported to the white room and fixed in the center by some kind of gravity levitation device. True fate, Prometheus has been cleared. Time taken, 62 days, 10 hours completion, 100% perfect, rewards, 1. Creation treasure chest, obtained 2. World node or pharaoh identity, obtained 3. Fate points, tree, additional reward, capture of fate rampager. When the basic calculation is completed, the individual will be teleported back to the Black Tower world and receive corresponding rewards according to the rampager's characteristics. Please allocate the talent points first before replicating the consciousness. As expected of a medium to large fate world, our development is quite fast. It also took a full 2 months. I don't know how far the expeditionary army is progressing. Maybe they're already fighting against the city guarded by the mythical entity. I'll go out and meet the Bufo. After asking some questions, I'll think about the follow-up. If I can take the opportunity to have an in-depth conversation with the Bufo, I might be able to deduce the true goal of the great expedition in advance. Let's put these trivial matters aside for now. Next, it was Han Dong's favorite part. Sigh, I thought that 100% completion would give me 2 talent points. It seems that I was thinking too much. I'm afraid that only a special chain event like the Clown's Resurrection could give me multiple rewards. After all, talent points are different from the previous seed points. They are too precious. Every point is a great improvement for the individual. Talent tree, smiley face, it was also projected into the white room. He reached out and touched the tree trunk. The 3D projection of the talent tree immediately appeared. The talent tree of the first and second tier had been allocated. First tier, dark magic, dark knowledge. Second tier, faceless myth, tentacle lover through the tree trunk, 1 black and 1 gray. 2 lit-up talent nodes were connected to the third tier. At the same time, it also corresponded to the center of the talent tree. Faceless myth, third tier, warden, dark magic, third tier, forbidden spell research, mad laughter journey. Third tier, lonely performer. Chapter 1010. Faceless myth, 3rd level. Warden. The position of warden is ruled by faceless. Privilege. Obtain the authority to change the prison parameters, can change the prison space, environmental conditions, gravity intensity, and other parameters, but cannot expand the number of cells. Effect. Prisoner strength plus 30%. If only 1 prisoner is controlled, the increase can reach 50%. Exclusive effect. Sin connection when controlling a prisoner alone. The prisoner's sin can be connected to the prisoner's own body, and the prisoner's basic attributes will be increased by 20%. The damage suffered by the individual can also be transferred to the prisoner according to the prisoner's own will. Dark magic, 3rd level. Forbidden spell research. Those who study dark magic are often not constrained by the conventional way of learning and do whatever it takes in the pursuit of power. As a result, some forbidden spells, which can cause great harm to oneself, are despised by the Sorcerers Association and are strictly prohibited by the Sorcerers Association. They have become treasures that some black mages seek after. Effect 1. Obtain the ability of forbidden spell exploration. When there are forbidden spell books in the nearby area, the brain will give a clear sense of direction. Maximum detection range 500 m. 2. When learning forbidden spell books, the efficiency is increased by 50%. 3. When releasing forbidden spells, the backlash effect is reduced by 75%. Journey of Crazy Laughter. 3rd level. A lonely performer, Merlin was an acrobatic clown, but he was not good at communicating with people. Because of his extremely solitary character, he did not join any circus and performed solo on the streets alone. Perhaps the way he performed was too novel, or the art he wanted to show was too avant-garde, but almost no one watched his performance, and he was even treated badly by others. Later, Merlin no longer went out to perform, but performed in front of a mirror. After a while, Merlin disappeared. Some people said that he must have gone to find another job. Some people said that they saw him in the homeless area. Some people said that whenever they felt lonely, they would always see a lonely clown standing behind them in a mirror. Effect 1. Performer. When there are no teammates except summoned creatures within a radius of 100 meters, the individual will receive a plus 30% increase in all attributes, including basic attributes, casting effects, special abilities, etc., as long as it is directly related to the individual. 2. Isolated and helpless. When the target is alone and there are no teammates, except summoned creatures, within a radius of 100 meters, the damage to the target will be plus 30%. How do I choose? The talents provided by the 3rd floor were actually so powerful. I'm already an adult. Can I have them all? He carefully browsed through all the talents corresponding to the 3rd level. Han Dong felt like he was standing at the crossroads of his life. The choice he made next would have a great impact on his future development. Although the first 2 levels of talents were somewhat difficult to choose, due to the uniqueness of one of the talents, such as tentacles, Han Dong immediately made a decision. But now it was very difficult. Please make your choice within 10 minutes. Otherwise, the system will treat it as an automatic forfeit. If the buff provided by the Faceless Myth was only limited to Prisoner, then it would be fine. But to think that it could bind Sin Karma, allowing me to obtain 20% of Prisoner as attributes and also allow them to share the damage. This type of Sin connection would allow me to adapt to different types of battles. I would even be able to share the damage with Togu during critical moments. At the same time, it could also create a cell area that was easier for them to rest, recover, and train. As for the Forbidden Curse, that corresponded to dark magic, it should be a type of dark magic that was more powerful than other dark magic spells of the same level, but would cause a backlash to the caster. Combined with my newly obtained Pharaoh identity, I might be able to release a disaster-level spell in advance. Moreover, this talent also comes with a radar that can find Forbidden Curse books. Once I get close to a special library or go to a certain book area, I will be able to get direct guidance on Forbidden Curse books. At the same time, the backlash would also be greatly reduced. This is too cool. The last one is simple and straightforward. If I have no teammates, I will directly receive a 30% increase. If the enemy has no teammates, they will receive more damage. The 2 effects can also be stacked. In other words, in a one-on-one fight, I will receive a 60% increase. It's similar to a 60% increase in yellow damage. It's a bit exaggerated, but there are also restrictions. Time slowly passed. Just as Han Dong was unable to make a decision, a vigorous voice from hell sounded. Master, we don't need to increase our strength. We will already grow together with you. As for the 20% damage sharing, it doesn't mean much to me. Right now, we are living very comfortably in the cell. Increasing our strength is definitely not something that can be done in the cell. Since you're already a staff member of the Black Tower, you also have the right to create a better space for us to grow. If Miss Chun-Li is here, she should also persuade you to give up the first option. You are already the warden, so there is no need to deliberately add a title. Yes. Toga's words made Han Dong firm on his choice. In that case, according to my interpersonal relationships, I should be able to exchange various forbidden curse secret techniques from different old kings. There should be some in the depths of the holy city's library. I should be able to get it if I ask Demps. Black Whirlpool Body has super adaptability. Coupled with my understanding of death, it won't be a problem to withstand the backlash from the forbidden curse. In that case, Han Dong took a deep breath. He placed his finger on Lonely Performer and clicked to confirm. For a moment, some kind of strange energy filled Han Dong's body. Faceless Head automatically imitated a colorful suit for Han Dong to wear. As the strange energy filled his body, Han Dong also couldn't help but dance. Due to Han Dong's lonely state in the settlement space, he received a 30% increase in all abilities. The effect was quite obvious. At the same time, a strange desire to perform also overflowed from his body. He urgently needed a mirror so that Han Dong could perform for him alone. Third rank knight achieved. Not to mention Han Dong's various abilities, just the Lonely Performer alone was enough to crush people of the same rank. After the uncontrollable dance performance, Han Dong once again sat on the familiar metal chair, fixed by various restraints, and then connected to his skull with a soft tube. Not far from Han Dong, there was another set of metal chairs, and the female corpse that was selected as the body was sitting on it. Next was the consciousness replication. Please relax. The consciousness replication will not cause any harm to you. All the replication materials will be provided by us. Han Dong wasn't nervous at all. He even hummed a little tune. Who knew that after a few minutes, a strong mechanical roar could be faintly heard around him? Because the individual consciousness is too strong and complex, the materials needed for replication are being transferred from the Black Tower world. Please wait a moment. Han Dong merely smiled and continued to meditate with his eyes closed. After 2 hours, the Fate system transferred 2 additional energy machines and 400% energy to replicate Han Dong's consciousness and steadily transmitted it to the female corpse's brain. Through Fate technology, the consciousness was stabilized and accommodated. The female corpse trembled. Bright red blood vessels gradually formed under the skin, and flesh slowly grew. The powerful consciousness easily suppressed the incomplete consciousness of the Egyptian princess and took the dominant position. After a while, the Egyptian princess, whose body was covered with black runes, opened her eyes. Her actions and thoughts were consistent with Han Dong's main body. Node Manager Clone successfully replicated. Chapter 1011. The creation of the princess clone was completed. Although her actions and thoughts were synchronized with Han Dong's, there was still a trace of unnaturalness. This unnaturalness was due to the fact that a trace of the princess consciousness had been preserved. This was also the result that Han Dong wanted. This princess, who truly came from ancient Egypt, could effectively assist him in the comprehensive reform, reconstruction, management, and the development of the black magic system in the holy capital. As Han Dong stood up from his seat, the female corpse did the same. But the clone's movements were slightly more feminine, as the main body and the clone's fingertips touched. The princess clone was directly teleported back to the world of Prometheus and assumed the role of the pharaoh, managing the world. At the same time, a strange feeling spread in his mind. It was the clone that, after sitting on the pharaoh's seat, transmitted the power of the world to Han Dong through her consciousness. But this power of the world could not be expressed through an actual ability. It was just a very illusory thing. This is the enhancement brought about by the world. This is the identity of a pharaoh. It feels strange. It seems to be more of a personal aura rather than an enhancement to one's ability. I don't know how to use it. When I return to the Expeditionary Army, I'll ask Commander Malone directly. At the same time, a system notification sounded frowny-faced. The manager clone has been successfully connected to Prometheus. The world is operating normally. Due to the necessity of the existence of the true node, the system will continue to use it as the Destiny world, allowing other participants to access it. The system will pay the corresponding rent according to the level of the world in Prometheus. After inspection, the world has slightly deteriorated compared to before. World source decreased by 10%. The rent will be reduced to 500 points/year. Han Dong also received the notification that the first year's rent had been received. When the calculation was completed, a strange spatial pull came over him. Han Dong was pulled from the calculation area to the Black Tower world. He immediately adjusted himself during the teleportation. Thud! He landed steadily in the familiar square. Participants from different worlds made the square bustle with activity. A group of fate participants that Han Dong had never seen before or even imagined had set up stalls in the public area, selling fate items that they did not need. The rampager arrested by you has been sent to the Black Tower. Please go to the monitoring division to receive your reward within 24 hours. Following the familiar path, Han Dong arrived at the surveillance division, Square Branch. Han Dong, in turn, rank 3, allowed to enter the monitoring division. The system still used Han Dong's Chinese name when he was alive, which made Han Dong quite concerned. The efficiency of the Black Tower was frighteningly high. From the time he entered the door to the office desk, the staff had already passed the review of a document in front of Han Dong. Reward list, event summary. In the world of Prometheus, a rampager was discovered and decisively carried out the duties of an employee to capture the rampager. Without revealing any information about the Black Tower, the rampager was brought back to the Black Tower in a relatively complete state. Target, Gillimishin Gorner, White Giant, Soul Parent. Rampager level, rank 2, Rampager, involves physical, mental, and severe anti-world emotions. Capture status, capture alive, integrity greater than or equal to 90%, reward. 1,500 points, and a lifetime record of outstanding capture. The situation this time was different from the last time when Han Dong came to receive the reward for killing the clown. First, Han Dong came to receive the reward as an intern. Second, this time it was a relatively perfect capture, which was the result that the Black Tower wanted. Therefore, the staff wearing the whirlpool mask looked up at Han Dong, and a voice similar to electromagnetic interference came from under the mask. Outstanding capture will help you become an official employee in advance. I hope you continue to work hard. Thank you. Walking out of the monitoring division, Han Dong looked at the open and bottom-level area that accommodated the lives of countless worlds. He knew very well that the world he saw was different from the world that his friend saw. More problems were in front of him. I hope our world doesn't turn into a battlefield. Sigh. Let's not think about these annoying things first. Speaking of which, I've just received a huge sum of money. The rent is 500 points, and the capture reward is 1,500 points. Such a huge sum of money should be able to exchange for something useful to the Bufo. Although I'm confident that I can take Meritus away directly, it's safer to exchange it with gifts. Besides, I have to try my best to establish a connection with the Bufo, a strange and important old king. Han Dong, who was carrying a huge sum of money, came to the Black Tower system trading area with a valiant and high-spirited attitude. Similar to the Dyson Sphere in the past, he could spend points here to directly purchase items from the system of various worlds of the same value. Search, unspecified, equipment, item, or materials. Divinity, if he wanted to affect the Bufo's mythical shackle. Burnout, he must use something with divinity. However, the search results made Han Dong, who thought he had advanced into the middle class, fall directly back into the slums. Anything that was contaminated with divinity, even if it was a material, would cost at least 1,000, and it was still broken. Slightly better things would cost a few thousand, and Han Dong could not afford it all. It was as if he thought he had raised enough money to propose marriage, but in the end he was directly knocked to the ground by a string of numbers given by his mother-in-law. Yamada no Oroki's Fong, minus 3,000 points Sky Dance Wheel, 15,000 points Cerberus's Flaming Hair, minus 1,900 points. The only things I can afford are some materials, and the divinity concentration is not high. It may not be of any use if I take it back, and it may even cause the Bufo to be unhappy. I'll go to the stalls in the square and try my luck. If I really can't buy it, I can only go back empty-handed. If I have a serious talk with the Bufo, I should be able to abduct Meritus. Taking advantage of the 24H Black Tower event time given by the system, Han Dong began to treasure in the stalls area. Due to the flow of time, the time difference between Han Dong and his teammates returning to Toad City was at most only a few seconds. So, he began to search for treasures in the square. With the feeling he had when he was with Meritus, the feeling of Toad, he went to every stall. Due to the longer shopping time, Han Dong also found a lot of strange stalls. Some stalls did not sell things at all but sold themselves. They indicated their level and attributes and rented it according to the number of times. There were also some stalls that did not accept points and wanted a barter. It was obvious that they were scammers. 18 hours. Just as Han Dong's eyelids began to tremble, a jade was stuck to the corner of Han Dong's eyes, and then it was reflected in his entire eye socket. The moment he stared at the jade, Han Dong's sleepiness was swept away, and even his brain was purified because of a glance at this jade. "Excuse me, how much is this thing?" The stall owner on the other side did not answer at all, but just kicked the stall's signboard with his foot. Fight Club slogan. Join the club and have a real fight. Corresponding discounts will be given according to the level of fighting, with the lowest discount being 10%. Chapter 10-12. Fight Club. The reason why Han Dong didn't feel good was because the boss was emitting a very strong aura. His level was definitely above level 5, but Han Dong wasn't sure how high he was. After all, there was an absolute difference between the species and the world plane, and the Destiny space could provide different development methods for the participants of different worlds. When he looked up, Han Dong was also shocked by the boss's appearance. The boss was lying on a self-made green bamboo chair, playing with a handheld from the Black Tower. It seemed that he could use this machine to look up anything within the scope of authority, and he could also read the books in the Black Tower library by reading novels. Obviously, this street stall owner status in the Black Tower was much higher than Han Dong's. It seemed that he could stay in the Black Tower world for a long time, and the handheld in his hands meant that he had more authority. As for the boss's form, it was similar to a human, but there were obvious differences. His limbs were normally distributed, his shoulders were big, his waist was round, his body was full of muscles, headless. The boss didn't have a head, and no facial structure could be found on his body. He was only wearing a pair of loose cloth pants. His oversized feet emitted a strong smell of athlete's foot, and his upper body was engraved with the fierce appearance of a barbarian ghost. Even if he didn't emit any hostility, just quietly lying down and reading novels was enough to give Han Dong a lot of pressure. Headless Clan. If such an existence came to our world in large numbers, it should cause a lot of chaos. "Boss, can I join the Fight Club?" ? Although he didn't have a head and facial structure, the boss could clearly see the things around him. When the boss looked at the person who asked, he was also surprised by Han Dong's posture. Due to the Black Tower's restriction, a high level of power restricted Han Dong's brain, causing Han Dong to reveal his original form. His right arm was covered with blood-red muscles. A biochemical giant was embedded in his shoulder, and holy blood flowed between the exposed blood vessels. His left arm was wrapped in bandages, and black gravel flowed between the blood vessels, emitting the divinity of death from the underworld. Anubis, as silhouette, was faintly discernible on the left side of his body. 4 tentacles floated behind Braised Egg's head. They were the eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. It was the first time the shop owner had seen such a strange, stitched monster. However, the aura that Han Dong emitted was very weak, merely tier 3. To be able to come to the world of the Black Tower with such a weak body, it seems like you're very special. For such a weak person like you, joining the Fight Club might cause you to be beaten to death. The death of a participant will bring us a lot of trouble. Let's go somewhere else. Don't you have low-level members in your club? Yes, but it's at least at the 5th rank. Most of the members have already opened the door. It's rare to see a little guy like you. Why? Do you have your eyes on something? This jade stone. Han Dong hurriedly pointed at the jade stone that could clear one's mind with a single glance. You have a good eye. It's a bit troublesome. It's the first time I've seen someone like you. Maybe the guild master will be interested, but your level is too low and there's a lot of risk. How about this? As long as you can successfully join the club as a Tier 3 member, this soul jade, green, will be given to you at a 90% discount. Although these things are precious, they're not of much use to us. They're mainly used to recruit people. Han Dong hurriedly asked, are there any restrictions on joining the fight club? Will it affect my life in my own world? I've just arrived here, so I'm not sure about the rules here. We're just a club established under the basic rules of the Black Tower. Our purpose is to recruit a group of lunatics, madmen, drunkards, or masochists for pure fighting practice. Most of the internal members don't have a deep relationship, so they won't invite each other to participate in fate events. Besides, your level is still too low to participate in cross-world events. As for what you're worried about, it's not a problem at all. The main goal of our fight club is freedom. There are no restrictions here. There's only one purpose in coming to the club, to fight to your heart's content. Victory or defeat is meaningless. There's only the purest of fighting here. Huh, sound good. Han Dong laughed awkwardly. He had just escaped from the Fate event and was quite tired. He didn't want to fight at all. Moreover, he wanted to fight with a group of perverts who were also certified by the Black Tower. However, this was his only chance. Besides, Han Dong didn't know anything about the Black Tower or the world system. Joining a club would give him a way to quickly gain knowledge and understand the true meaning of the Fate world. If you're sure, I'll bring you there. Because your level is too low, we'll have to ask the president for permission. I hope I'm not wrong about you. If you die, our club's points will be deducted a lot. As the person who introduced you, I'll also be severely punished. Haha, I'll take a look at the situation first. If it doesn't work, I'll give up. By the way, can you lend me this soul jade? I've just come out from the Fate event. I'm so tired. Okay, recover well. Don't die. The headless boss was very generous. He didn't care if there was a problem with the jade and directly threw it to Han Dong. The moment Han Dong touched the jade, it was as if he was in a fairyland. His mental state recovered quickly and his fatigue was swept away. This also made Han Dong even more determined. However, following the headless boss who was full of muscles and exuded a strange aura, the invisible pressure made Han Dong a little nervous. Outside the plaza, a unique design of a metal building appeared in front of Han Dong. The whole building was made of metal. Through multiple layers of metal, large rivets, and screws, it made the layering feel extra rich. Colorful neon lights formed two flashing boxing symbols on the surface of the steel door. Fight Club, due to the language commonality of the Black Tower world, Han Dong could see Standard English. To be able to apply for such a large space in the Black Tower world and build a metal building of this scale, it at least showed that the club's status seemed to be quite high. As soon as he stepped into the building, he could hear the sound of fighting from different compartments. The fierce sound of flesh colliding with the flashing neon lights unknowingly made Han Dong fall into a state of excitement. When he entered the door, a one-eyed woman with two heads and a body full of syringes passed by. Brother Headless, is this the newcomer you brought? I'm afraid he can't be so weak, right? Let me ask the president first. At this moment, the broadcast in the front door directly sounded, and a low and magnetic voice came out. Headless, since it's your choice, let him join. This kid is only at the first level and has been recognized by the Black Tower. Not bad. Hearing the affirmation from the president, Headless squeezed the muscles on his body together and formed a ghost picture on his chest. He was quite happy. Then a slap landed on Han Dong's shoulder. Kid, I didn't misjudge you. Do your best. Once you can join, I can also get a lot of benefits. What are the requirements for joining? What kind of process? We don't have a fixed rule here. You just need to fight with other members. No matter who wins or loses, as long as you can feel good, you can join. Don't worry, I'll try to arrange members who can't reach, open door for you. Okay. For some reason, Han Dong had a very bad feeling. Chapter 10:13. In the Fight Club, there were creatures from all over the world. At least, Han Dong did not see any humans. After all, there are very few humans who entered the Destiny space at the same time, not to mention meeting them in the club. The members who looked serious, once they stepped into the metal building filled with neon colors, would completely reveal their true nature. They abandoned their previous combat habits and all sorts of rule-based combat techniques, returning to their most primitive state and engaging in a non-rule-based physical brawl with the other members. Some people just wanted to release their emotions. Some people just wanted to be beaten. Some people were looking for the most primitive impulse. Some people wanted to prove themselves. In order to let Han Dong have a deeper understanding of the essence of the Fight Club, Headless led him directly to a closed room. A large number of members were gathered here, watching the two people who were fighting inside. There was no ring, no referee, no props. The two members were completely immersed in it, carrying out the most primitive fight. This scene was enough to be labeled as 404. Seeing this scene, Han Dong could not help but think of his battle with Ed in Prometheus. Obviously, the two of them leaned towards the magic type, but in the battle, they changed to close combat mode and fought head-on. But the situation in the club was more intuitive. Even without basic equipment, they just picked up their fists and fought head-on. One of the members' head was smashed until it was completely deformed and he lost his consciousness. Compared to the victors, the losers received even louder cheers. At this time, an external force acted on Han Dong's back. The Headless raised his big foot full of athlete's foot and directly kicked Han Dong into the fighting area. This is a newcomer who wants to join our club. Because his level is very low, it is very likely that he will die in the fighting process. Therefore, we need to find a member who has not opened door to test him. Is there anyone willing? Third stage? And he is not a participant who focuses on physical training. What if he dies? Did the president agree? It is because of the president's agreement that I brought him here. He should be the type who looks like he can't take a beating, but in fact, he can't be beaten to death. Hey, is there anyone here who doesn't have open door? If not, we'll go somewhere else. Let me do it. A fair and smooth young man squeezed out from the crowd. His image was very similar to Majin Buu in Dragon Ball. A mask similar to a ventilator was worn over the face to provide support. In the last battle, this person's chin and neck were completely destroyed. Furthermore, he was missing 2 fingers on his right hand. This was also the result of the fight. Bauman, didn't you just fight yesterday? I haven't recovered from my injuries yet. Forget it. It's just a newcomer test. Brother Headless, it should be difficult for you to find a member in the club who hasn't opened the door. After all, our free time is not as abundant as yours. All right, I'll leave it to you. This member called Bauman had a fate rank of grade 5. He was even shorter than Han Dong, with a height of only 160 centimeters. His whole body exuded a smell similar to a mixture of rubber and honeydew. In the Prometheus incident, Han Dong had fought with 2 grade 5 engineers and killed one of them. Currently, it should be crack. The sound of ribs breaking spread in the room. The fight had already begun when the two entered the arena. Bauman's rubber-like fist had already hit Han Dong's body. His arm could store power during the attack through a rubber layer effect. Listening to the sound, at least 9 ribs were broken. About 8 centimeters of fist left a dent on Han Dong's chest. Combined with the impact effect brought by the rubber layer, Han Dong quickly flew backward and out of the crowd. Boom! The metal wall was hit with a huge dent. Han Dong's soft body fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, the Headless boss showed an unhappy expression. Although there were no rules, as long as the player entered the arena, it was considered the start, but Han Dong, as a newcomer, should at least give some hints. Such a punch was completely unrestrained, taking advantage of Han Dong's unprepared gap, directly hitting the front of his body. Immediately, someone said, "A grade 3 newcomer. This punch should be gone. Quickly call the medical team over. If he dies here, the club will be closed for a few days." Just when everyone thought that Han Dong was dead, a voice suddenly rang out. "Ha ha ha, cough cough." A burst of crazy laughter came out from the mouth, along with broken ribs. In the blink of an eye, Han Dong, who was originally paralyzed by the wall, stood up and even danced a crazy dance from primitive emotions. A lonely performer. In the current 1v1 situation, all the effects were activated. It was precisely because of the 30% buff and the special nature of the body that he barely blocked this punch. The participants who could obtain the Black Tower Pass meant that they had killed a powerful rampager without any warning. Bauman, from another world in front of him, was extremely powerful. In his world, he belonged to the highest bloodline. Well, why can you still stand up? Are you crazy? Staring at Han Dong, who was laughing while immersed in the dance, Bauman tilted his pink head 90 degrees, unable to understand. Han Dong, who was immersed in the dance, also made the other spectators show an expression of interest. Dancing? It seems that you have found fighting spirit. Just like this, do everything you can to immerse yourself in it. Broken limbs, pierced body, so what? Seriously injured, so what if you die? The important thing is to be immersed in it, enjoy all this, and enjoy the ultimate pleasure brought by primitive desires. The headless boss put his arms on the ghost-faced chest muscles piled up and showed more interest. Since Han Dong did not lose the ability to move, the fight continued. Turn your back to me? Bauman lowered his body, and his feet were deeply compressed like a spring. The power of this catapult impact was twice as powerful as the punch just now. Whoosh! He started catapulting and went straight to the target. As luck would have it, Han Dong was bending down to dance. Suddenly, he twisted his waist and soared into the air. With his right arm as the center, he spun wildly. It turned into a whirlpool of red dogs and directly swallowed the catapult. Well, gelatinous body is actually so bouncy? Han Dong was surprised. The blood dog made of tentacles could crush all flesh and corrode all hard objects. But when it bit Bauman's body, the gelatinous elasticity did not cause too much damage. Bauman easily pulled away with the elasticity of his body. However, several bite marks were left on his body. Entangled with hybrid demon's pollution, the wounds could not be healed. Through the dance just now, Han Dong had completely integrated with the atmosphere of the Fight Club. He did not stop at all, relying on instinct to continue to pounce on the target. Using his bandaged left arm and the right arm of the blood dog, he engaged in a head-on fight with Bauman. Perhaps Han Dong's strength was not as good as most fighters, but every punch was extremely threatening. Bauman even took the initiative to dodge and retreat many times. Moreover, Han Dong's state was quite strange, like a cockroach that could not be killed. Bang! When it came to fighting, Bauman had more experience, and the number of effective hits was obviously more than Han Dong. But no matter how broken his body was, no matter whether his teeth were broken or not, Han Dong maintained an exaggerated smile all the time, always in an incredible posture to continue to fight with Bauman. A close combat mage can actually fight so well. This newcomer is a bit interesting. Train him well. In the future, he must fight with me. Here comes another lunatic. Not bad, under the primitive desire to punch after punch. This fight lasted for a full 5 hours. Han Dong had already forgotten himself during the fight, and his consciousness was blurred. He vaguely heard the members talking about him, and the voice of the Fate system. Then, it seemed that he was teleported out of the Black Tower due to time constraints. Chapter 10:14. Earth, the area where the Bufo's main body was located, a large area ruled by a king-level land deed, located in the Australian continent. Nkay. Watch City, wrinkled intestines, and irregular monster bones formed a solid street. Drainage outlets, transportation rivers, gliding channels, and other fluid areas formed the river area of the Watch City. Due to the characteristics of the toads, the ratio of the river to the street was about 6:4. The buildings in the Watch City were also divided into two types, the main buildings on the ground and the residential flying buildings. Due to the amazing reproductive ability of the toad hybrid demons, the population density of the Watch City had long exceeded the maximum limit of the city. A large number of toad balloons floated above the surface and connected to the ground through a flesh channel, allowing individuals to quickly rise and fall. These balloons were the residential houses. They did not occupy the surface area and could accommodate a large number of residents. As for the buildings built on the surface, they all had a certain meaning to Nkei. King Toad's Tower, a tower built with the flesh of a mythical toad. It was the safest building in the Watch City, and it was directly guarded by the Bufo's clone. The area around it was mostly military buildings to ensure the absolute safety of the Toad's Gate. If something that did not belong to the current world came out from it, it must be suppressed and killed immediately. After more than 200 years of modification in the Toad City, the Gate of Destiny had completely merged with the brain and turned into a gate embedded on the surface of the brain. The surface was branded with the pattern of the sleeping toad. A wave of fluctuation came. Meritus left first, followed by Abel, Dimps, and Mia. They also left from the inside of the gate that was full of mucus. The three of them had successfully advanced to Level 2 Knight and selected a new talent. They were all a little excited. For Meritus, who entered as a hybrid demon, there was no problem with talent points. However, she still received some gifts from fate, and her water affinity increased by a level. Coupled with her second life, experience in God's capital, her overall strength had significantly increased. Even her appearance and temperament had changed to a certain extent. If she was placed among the many atavistic bodies, she could be ranked in the upper middle. She widened her watery and round eyes, searching for Han Dong's traces. "Where's Nicholas? Why didn't you come out with us?" Dimps pushed the bronze mirror and said with a smile, "Nicholas has successfully seized the node. His settlement process will definitely take a long time. Let's wait for a while. It shouldn't take long." It was very urgent. Meritus found it hard to calm down when she thought about how her life might change from now on. She had to give up her title as a feudal lord to accompany this person on an adventure in the world. At this moment, with a burst of energy fluctuation, the door opened. A soft, mud-like object slid out and fell directly to the ground, in a state of deep unconsciousness. Moreover, it was difficult to determine that it was a human through external observation, but its aura could directly identify its identity. "Nicholas." Everyone stepped forward at once. Mary took out the remaining origin clear water in her body and wrapped it around Han Dong, who was beaten beyond recognition. There wasn't a single complete bone in his body, and his internal organs were all broken into pieces and scattered all over his body. His body had been severely injured multiple times while exceeding his limits. At the same time, he found some pink elastic substance between Han Dong's teeth and nails. It seemed to have come from an enemy. "Why are you so heavily injured? Weren't you fine when we settled the accounts?" Meritus could clearly sense Han Dong's terrible condition with the origin clear water as a medium. With her ability, she could barely save Han Dong's life, but it was not enough to repair him. At this moment, a tongue passed through the space and dragged Han Dong's body away. Immediately after, an extremely oppressive and supreme voice resounded in the current area. "Mary, Lizzie, bring New King and Nicholas's other two friends to stay in Toad City for 2 days. I will be responsible for repairing Nicholas." "Yes, Bufo." In the past, since the Bufo had already been taken over, Meritus would not say much at all. But now, she mustered up the courage to ask, "Will Nicholas be in danger? He is special. He will fully recover in 3 days. On the 3rd day, you will go to the underground cave of Nkei, where my main body is, and report this incident in detail." "Yes." Hearing the Bufo's words, everyone was relieved. They endured the harsh environment in Toad City and rested for 2 days. On the 3rd day, Meritus led the team to Nkei Inner City through a special surface elevator, which was the core city that existed underground and the main area of the land deed. The main body of the Bufo was resting in the deepest part of the Dark Labyrinth, the largest cave in the inner city. Because of the Bufo's permission, they could directly reach the inner circle of the labyrinth through a one-way space device. Everyone successfully came to a biological medical room in the labyrinth. Han Dong was connected to his whole body by organs full of vitality. Through the most advanced Toad City treatment device, his seriously injured body was recovering, in order to avoid the irreversible risk of contamination from human visitors. The Bufo appeared in front of everyone in the form of a human sack. Its image was a middle-aged, greasy man with a big belly, a Mediterranean hairstyle, and deep dark circles under his eyes. He was yawning all the time. Fatigue always affected the Bufo. At this time, Han Dong, who had recovered 30% of his body, woke up. The first thing he did when he opened his eyes was to throw a punch in the air. His consciousness seemed to be still in the Fight Club. For a time, various memory fragments were combined in his mind. Han Dong recalled that he was defeated by Bauman in a fight, but he won everyone's cheers and became a member of the Fight Club. Unfortunately, he directly fainted. Otherwise, Han Dong could ask the club for more information about the Black Tower. When the memory ended, Han Dong looked down at his arms and body. An unprecedented, refreshing feeling swept through his whole body. Even if his body was not fully recovered, Han Dong felt that he became lighter. It seemed that all the impurities squeezed in his body were all excreted through a reckless fight. This kind of pure fight, driven by primitive desire, to a certain extent, purified the fighter's body, soul, and consciousness. It made the individual become more pure in a state of complete selflessness. Han Dong carefully felt, and even felt that the mixed ability in his body had a slight fusion phenomenon. It might only be 1%, but it was enough to make Han Dong feel shocked. Is this the purpose of the Fight Club? Han Dong immediately broke free from the medical device and stepped on the ground steadily. Demps, who was not far away, pushed the frame of his glasses. As a technician, he immediately saw the changes in Han Dong. What happened to Nicholas during this settlement? His body seems to have become more pure. Before anyone asked the reason for the serious injury, Han Dong began to explain himself. Don't worry, I voluntarily caused this serious injury. Because of the problem of the node, I encountered some interesting things. The information about the Black Tower was not allowed to be leaked. Han Dong used the world node as an excuse to fool them. He did not wait for his teammates to ask. Han Dong immediately turned to the target. He knelt in front of the human form, Bufo, and presented the item. Thank you, Bufo, for the medical treatment. According to the agreement, I brought back a destiny item. I hope it has a certain effect on the shackles of exhaustion of the Bufo. The moment he received the green jade, the energy mixed in the jade collided with the Bufo's corresponding mythical shackles. The dark circles on the Bufo's face immediately disappear by half. For a moment, the outer city and inner city of K began to tremble at the same time. All the citizens of Toad City knelt down in the most devout manner and even prostrated themselves on the ground. Because they knew this trembling meant that the Bufo's main body was about to wake up from the sleeping plane in Compton K. It actually worked this. Meritus was also completely stunned. In her opinion, compared to the level of the Bufo, the destiny world she entered was still too far away. Even if they could find an item that could affect the mythical shackles, it would not have a big effect. At most, it would only be a one-time use. Now it seemed that the effect was very good. Han Dong, who was kneeling on one knee, showed a strange smile. He tried his best to hold back and not let himself laugh crazily in this kind of situation. Not to mention that this thing was really useful to the Bufo, because Han Dong borrowed the jade in advance and later fainted during the fight. He was directly teleported out. Han Dong brought the jade out without spending a single cent. The next time he went to the Black Tower would be at least a year later. Maybe the Headless had already forgotten about this matter. Chapter 10:15. Holy City, Nointerna, Clock Tower, Spring Room. The clock's main office. The current clock had already taken off her mask, revealing the delicate face of a Western woman. However, there were clear lines of metal inlaid on her skin. Her mechanical face seemed to be able to open and close at will, adapting to various situations. just as the clock was going through the usual fate data. The gears in the clock tower that were operating at a constant speed suddenly began to rotate at different frequencies. It wasn't an emergency, but someone was using the fate realm to send a message to the holy city. The clock immediately translated the different gear frequencies, turning them into an audio file and storing them in a delicate message box. This was the method of communication between different main cities, using the fixed number of the gate of fate to send messages. Generally speaking, only important matters would be communicated. After all, it would cost a certain amount of points. Fate points were wealth, resources, and a direct weapon against the hybrid demons at this stage of the game. The clock had to directly send messages from other main cities to the council. The Foreign Affairs Counselor in charge of the main cities would receive the messages from the other side. Messengers, Wangdu Alliance, Turing Modeling Board of Directors, Mendel Biology Company Board of Directors. Audio content. In a recent True Fate event, my Wangdu team had a conflict with a team that claimed to be from the Holy City. Due to the unusual circumstances and the death of our Mendel Biology Company's Novikov, Grade 5 engineer, in the Fate event, the cause of death is currently unknown. We need to verify some information with the Holy City. According to the report of our surviving team, they encountered a hybrid demon, atavistic body, in the team that claimed to be Knights of the Holy City in the Fate world. The members of the team that claimed to be Knights of the Holy City were Nicholas Wallen, Demps Martin, Mia Semenovic, and Abel Ryan. In addition, a vicious incident occurred in the Fate event. Among them, a young man named Nicholas Wallen was the team leader. Knowing that the Prometheus node was under the control of our Wangdu engineers, they still started a node war. If it is related to the Holy City, according to the Human Survivors Ordinance, I hope you can provide information about this person. The Foreign Affairs Counselor, who received the message, did not show any ugly expression, nor did he immediately check the information given by Wangdu. The Foreign Affairs Counselor, who had always been solemn, revealed a sweet smile at this moment. Even the timekeeper at the side raised his arm slightly to cover his mask. On one hand, he was fixing his mask to hide his smile, and on the other hand, he was revealing a trace of surprise. Both the Foreign Affairs Councilman and the Watchman recognized the captain's name given by Wangdu's messenger. Nicholas had been targeted by the council ever since the Great Betrayer incident and was selected as a candidate for the council. Most of the counselors had heard of this name due to his performance in the night conference. As for the clock creator, who was close to Mr. Black and White, there was no need to mention it. Due to different ideas, there are more or less certain contradictions between the three main cities. The relationship between Dragon City of 9 regions and the other 2 big countries is similar. However, the relationship between the Holy City and Wangdu was not very good. It had even deteriorated in recent years. Not to mention the conflicts that occurred in the Destiny realm, there were even casualties. The basic concepts of the 2 main cities regarding the liberation of all human beings were vastly different. This was mainly reflected in the exploration outside the city. The Holy City was quite proactive. They even did not hesitate to sacrifice their soldiers to continuously obtain information outside the city. They went on many adventures outside the city. Through the information recorded on some stone slabs, they launched attacks on certain hybrid demon strongholds or explored areas where chaotic treasures were hidden. In the eyes of the Holy City, since the key point of breaking the seed was to kill the hybrid demons, they had to deal with the outside of the city all the time. However, Wangdu was different. This group of engineers was quite dependent on the big data that they calculated. In their understanding, at this stage, humans should make good use of the Destiny realm and accumulate elites to fight against the hybrid demons. They only carried out basic exploration outside the city. In recent years, they also tried to use technology to achieve unmanned long-distance exploration to reduce the loss of personnel as much as possible. Until Wangdu's overall level was enough to compete with the hybrid demons, they carried out large-scale activities outside the city. As for the Great Expedition, the royal capital also scoffed at it. Some people even proposed a conspiracy theory, suspecting that the Holy City wanted to use the Great Expedition as a cover to privately contact the hybrid demons on a large scale. The original holder of the Prometheus node, Wang Du, advanced engineer, Ed Lewis. He is a very talented expert. The Hourglass was familiar with the Destiny system and directly reported the corresponding holder's name. The Foreign Affairs Counselor was both excited and surprised. Unbelievable. Even if the true fate forcefully restricts advanced engineers to the 5th tier, their understanding of the truth still exists. Their overall strength is definitely stronger than the 5th tier. With the support of the World Node, they are basically invincible. This kid actually managed to obtain the World Node as a 2nd tier knight, right? I remember that Nicholas signed up for the Great Expedition. How did he appear in the Destiny event? Furthermore, although Wang Du and his group were arrogant, they would definitely not lie about such things. Why would Nicholas's group have a hybrid demon with the ancestral body? Furthermore, the expeditionary army should not have arranged the Destiny event of the World Node outside the city, right? How did Nicholas carry out the Destiny event? Although it is something to be happy about, we still have to investigate carefully. Currently, we are unable to contact the expeditionary army. We can only rely on the Prophet to determine the situation. The Foreign Affairs Counselor wrote a letter personally. He intended to let the messenger in the council hand it over to Mr. Black and White. Let me do it. I'm closer to Black and White. If Black and White is not in the stargazing room, due to urgent matters, I can quickly find him. This matter must be verified as soon as possible. If it causes a misunderstanding with Wang Du, it will bring you a lot of trouble. Okay, the Hourglass personally took on the task of delivering the letter. Of course, the Hourglass's original body still needed to stay in the clock tower and constantly monitor the Gate of Destiny. The one responsible for delivering the letter was a mechanical avatar created by the Hourglass's own ability and the Holy City's most advanced steam technology. When the Hourglass went to the Dark Moon Tower, it was personally received by the chief butler in the graveyard. His appearance was an old man with a rotting corpse smell. One of his eyes was covered by a bronze mirror. His overall strength was enough to reach the level of a corporal. What a rare guest. Miss, you haven't set foot in the Dark Moonland for decades. Mr. Black and White specially instructed that if you come, please take this letter. You will find Mr. Black's current location through the letter. At this point, the chief butler put his finger in front of his mouth. Please remember to hide the news that Mr. Black is out. You must announce that Mr. Black is in seclusion in the stargazing room. Okay, I will continue to wait here for Miss's return. If everything goes well, Miss will definitely be able to break free from the binding. The letter was encrypted with the unique gear code of the clock tower. After the Hourglass's pieced together interpretation, a special symbol was finally decoded. It symbolized the mechanical cross seal of the machinery faith. Chapter 10:16. Embedded inside the mountain of the Holy City, the City of Steam was the second city in the energy and industrial core. It was also known as the heart of the Holy City. The Watchman's mechanical avatar passed the identity verification. From the outer entrance of the City of Steam, it quickly arrived at the central area, which was also known as the Pillar of Steam. However, no matter how special the Watchman's identity was, he was still restricted in his movements here. If he wanted to go to the top level, he needed the approval of his patron. If he wanted to go to the middle level of the Holy Ring, he also needed Mr. Newton's approval. I need to go to the Holy Ring level. Please wait a moment. Due to your special identity, I believe Mr. Newton will contact you directly here. The mechanical attendant in charge of receiving the Watchman was suddenly invaded by a consciousness of the highest authority. Just the connection of the consciousness made this ordinary attendant undergo a huge change. Like a mortal chosen by God, the mechanical parts that made up the attendant's body were sublimated to the ultra-precision level. The overall structure became more precise, and the energy supply became more powerful. It could directly supply the energy of the Pillar of Steam. The whole thing exuded a powerful aura. The consciousness that was connected was none other than Congreve Newton. Great clock creator, may I know what brings you to our machinery faith? This is a special period. If there is nothing particularly important, we will not allow outsiders to enter for the time being. The watchman did not say much and directly showed the letter from Mr. Black and White. Newton checked the letter and revealed a gratified smile. Come with me. Under the lead of Newton, they reached a special elevator to the Holy Ring area. They went through Newton's exclusive papal passage and arrived at the core area of the Holy Ring. As soon as they opened the door, a powerful aura constantly overflowed from the inside. A group of people who represented the highest combat power and authority in the Holy City gathered in a round conference room with different heights. The most eye-catching one was the financier, Gary G. Travix, who was sitting on the golden throne. Mr. Newton was wearing a papal outfit with the emblem of the machinery faith. He sat on a chair supported by a metal spring and was attached to his patron. Other than that, Mr. Black and White, Hugo Harrison of the Secret Word Knights, Luke Coden of the Knights of the Black Rose, and Jake Mason of the Windwalker Knights, who is also the founder of the Lightless Church. One had to know, small group activities were not allowed in the Holy City. Such private meetings of high-ranking knights needed to be reported to the council. It was obvious that this meeting, which had been initiated by the financier and initiated by Newton in private, had not been reported. Even the entire Holy City did not know that this group of people had gathered together. All the participants had kept this gathering a secret. Mr. Newton, as the sponsor's spokesperson and the sole controller of the Holy Ring, welcomed the Hourglass's temporary participation. Clock user, you've come at the right time. The information you provided will definitely push this meeting forward. However, let's first listen to the purpose of the timekeeper's arrival. It seems like Mr. Black and White recommended him. What's the matter? I'm mainly looking for Mr. Black and White. The clock user looked at Mr. Black and White, who was not far away. At this time, Mr. Black and White, who had switched to white face, directly signaled to the clock user. He wanted her to publicly announce the matter of looking for him. I just received a message from Wangdu talking about a recent fate event, the clock user briefly explained. When she heard that Nicholas had seized the true node that originally belonged to Wangdu, Black and White face and Newton smiled at the same time. However, this matter was not worth mentioning for the meeting held here. The clock user continued. The Foreign Affairs Counselor wants Mr. Black and White to learn the key points involved in this matter through astrology. How did Nicholas enter the destiny space outside the city? And why is there an atavistic body mantis demon in the team? Mr. Black and White seemed to be prepared. He directly handed over a letter. Give it directly to the Foreign Affairs Counselor later. There's something he wants in it. You can wait for 10 minutes before you leave. We happen to have something that you need to verify. Since it was Black and White face's order, the clock user temporarily stayed. What do you need me to verify? About the changes in the world of the Black Tower, and the situation of the Gate of Destiny and other parts of the world that you have recently obtained with the help of the Bell Tower door, especially the situation in London. At the same time, a secret meeting was being held in the Holy Ring of Steam City. In Australia, the underground world of K was violently turbulent. All the Toad, hybrid demons living there knelt down. Even the noble King Toad, mythical form, was no exception. This kind of tremor was accompanied by a king-like aura. All the residents living in knew very well that this was a sign that the Bufo had awakened. Due to the mythical shackle, exhaustion, the Bufo had been in a state of deep sleep for 100 years. In the state of deep sleep, the Bufo's multiple avatars would manage K and its land deeds, such as the black-haired avatar that Han Dong and others encountered in the land deeds under the jurisdiction of Meritus. The awakening of the Bufo was extremely rare. It had only happened once in 300 years. This was the second time. In the depths of the dark labyrinth underground area of this green jade, worth 10,000 points, affected the Bufo's mythical shackles. Although it was not enough to completely break the shackles, it suppressed the influence of the shackles on the Bufo to a large extent. The so-called mythical shackles were not physical objects, but but a restriction that needed to be borne when going deep into the gate of truth. It was an illusory high-level restriction, as Han Dong handed the green jade to the Bufo's human avatar. A stone door that had been closed for a long time slowly descended, and the avatar immediately turned into a piece of toad skin and flew in. The moment the stone door opened, an indescribable pressure whizzed out. It forced Abel and Mia to kneel directly. Meritus had already knelt on the ground devoutly. Only Han Dong and Demps were barely in a half-squatting state. The marks from the other old kings, as well as the newly acquired pharaoh identity, helped Han Dong resist the pressure. Demps could rely on his throne to resist the pressure because of his special identity as the new king. An ancient and deep voice, as if it came from the depths of a ditch and went up along a deep and long dry well, came from the inside. As expected, the messenger recognized by the yellow shirt and the Lord. The thing you brought back has greatly interfered with the influence of exhaustion on me. Come in, according to our agreement. You will receive the rewards that I will bestow, including a chance to observe the wall. Don't worry about pollution, just come in. Thank you, Bufo. When Han Dong stretched out his hand and motioned for his teammates to follow. The most shocked was the strongest person here, Meritus. Her face was full of disbelief. Miss Mary, let's go. I think it's rare for the Bufo's original body to wake up. Maybe it can help you understand myths. As for the matter between the two of us, I will take the initiative to talk to the Bufo after the observation of the wall. Oh, okay. Chapter 1017. 1. As long as you are willing to enter the destiny space in the name of Toad, whether you obtain the item or not, the Toad clan will voluntarily give up the wetland battle. If you return successfully, you will get an ordinary chance to observe the wall and safely return to the Knights. 2. If you can obtain an item that can effectively relieve tiredness, give it to me. I will give you the mid-sized land deed of Lake Trasimeno Toad Palace, and I am willing to maintain a long-term cooperative relationship with you. If the item you bring back exceeds my expectations, you will get a better reward. This was the condition of the Bufo in the early stage. Now, the item that Han Dong brought back would certainly meet the second condition, but whether it exceeded the expectations or not, it was up to the Bufo to express its opinion. As long as the second condition was met, Han Dong was already very satisfied. The deepest part of the labyrinth, resting place, this was a special space dedicated to the Bufo's sleep. When they stepped in, they could feel a cool breeze that could wake them up. Resting place was designed to be a deep cave similar to a giant well. The horizontal width, the diameter of the well, was about 500 meters, and the depth was impossible to measure. In front of Han Dong and others, there was only a suspended horizontal broken bridge for them to walk on. The broken bridge just extended to the center of the surface of the well. Other than that, there was no other way and no way to go deep into the resting place. This was the habitat of the Bufo. Even the simplest walk was extremely difficult here. Abel had just obtained the epic equipment, Lu Wu's finger. He wrapped his body with a circle of divinity and walked alone on the stone bridge. Meritus maintained the most respectful posture. She knelt on the ground and used the water to carry her slippery body forward slowly. A throne appeared behind Demps, and he walked here at a normal speed. Han Dong gently pulled Mia's hand and helped her to walk to the end of the stone bridge. Don't look below. Although the Bufo has completely restrained the pollution, the Bufo itself is difficult for our brain to bear. This is also the reason why the Bufo told us to wait on the broken bridge. The Bufo in the depths should only reveal a small part of it to meet us. Han Dong reminded his teammates not to look down, but he stuck his head out and looked at the bottom of sleeping place. A powerful spatial suction force immediately covered his entire body. However, it was soon suppressed by the domain released by Han Dong. Through the demonic eye, he could see part of the situation below. There are other entrances here. Are we just standing on the surface of the well? When he looked down, Han Dong noticed that at the bottom of the resting place, there was a large number of circular stairs and entrances that allowed one person to pass through. A group of heretics, wrapped in dark green robes, walked down the circular staircase. They were all holding hexagonal basins filled with clear water. They were separated by 5 meters and walked down together. At this moment, Meritus reminded, "We just need to wait here. Below is just the exclusive passage of the cleaners. Because the thing you gave to the Bufo woke up in advance, hundreds of years of sleep in addition to a lot of dirt on the surface of the body. The body is also squeezed with inert substances produced by sleep. The cleaners need to bring the pure seawater from the deep sea to clean the Bufo from inside and outside. When the cleaning is over, the Bufo will come up to see us." Since they had to wait here for the Bufo to clean the body, Handong was also curious about a question. "Miss Mary, the Bufo called the Old King in the Deep Sea Lord. Is there a relationship?" Meritus seemed to know what Handong wanted to ask. "It's not what you think. The relationship between the Bufo and the deep sea is only subsidiary, not direct. The Bufo itself is not bound by too many restrictions from the deep sea. At the same time, the Bufo itself is extremely powerful. Depending on the deep sea, it will regularly receive gifts from the deep sea. For example, the pure seawater from the deep sea can clean all the dirt inside and outside the Bufo, even including the negative dirt squeezed in the spirit during the sleep." "I see. Let's not talk about it. Let's wait for the arrival of the Bufo in the most devout state." Meritus was in an extremely humble but excited state. Her body, kneeling on the ground, was flowing at the speed of one lumen. They waited for about an hour. The tremor of the earth gradually stopped, and the seawater, believers responsible for the transportation, left one by one. Everyone could clearly feel that something was rising from the bottom of the well-shaped cave. It was accompanied by a feeling of space widening. The whole cave was getting bigger to accommodate the awakened king. The strong sense of oppression and weightlessness made everyone completely lose consciousness in a short period of time, and their vision turned dark. When they regained consciousness and opened their eyes again, a behemoth's head appeared in the front section of the broken bridge, and it was only the upper part of the head. The corresponding cave of the resting place had also undergone corresponding changes. The whole cave adapted to the size of the Bufo and turned into a conical cylindrical structure to accommodate the unfolded body of the Bufo. The sleeping Bufo's body was put together by the space folding. On the day of awakening, the body of the Bufo would gradually unfold, causing a strong earthquake in the Australian continent. It was a swollen and symmetrical dark head with finger-thick hair on the surface of the head. The two inner sides of the two bat-like ears were engraved with strange murals, depicting part of the scenes in the sleeping world, which would change according to the thoughts of the Bufo. The hill-like nose bridge could be opened and closed left and right, and countless tongues could be ejected from it, which could be used to manipulate space, cast magic, detect objects, or devour foreign objects. As the Bufo said, it had tried its best to restrain the pollution and pressure. Otherwise, looking directly at it at such a close distance, the members of the team would fall instantly. Fat tentacles protruded from the completely open nose bridge, swaying wildly in the air and making bursts of high-frequency sounds. It seemed to be the unique laughter of the Bufo to express its happiness. In order to avoid the influence of the words, a tentacle slowly turned into a human shape in the air and communicated with Han Dong and the others in human language. This was considered as taking the initiative to lower its status. It could be seen that the Bufo was very happy and valued this negotiation. The tip of the tentacle slowly evolved into a bald man with a big belly and landed in front of everyone. "The thing you brought back is very interesting. It can greatly limit the restrictions of the burnout shackles on me. As a reward, the land deed and its owner are all given to you. Meritus, as a hybrid demon with certain human characteristics, should be a good connection point between you and..." A wet parchment slowly overflowed from the bald man's body, corresponding to the medium-sized land deed of the wetland. There was no need for Han Dong to make a request. Meritus was sold by the Bufo at the beginning. However, Meritus, who was sold, was not unhappy. Instead, She showed an extremely rare, happy smile. In addition, the thing you brought back has exceeded my expectations. Due to your characteristics and shortcomings, a book will be given to you as an extra reward. Chapter 10:18. Book. That's right. Since you can learn the high imitation version of the Book of the Dead, I copy. You must be able to learn the other parts. The other parts. When he heard this, Han Dong's eyes lit up. Your body is very strange. It seems to be connected to the limbs of other life forms through the method of splicing. Not only can you not be rejected, but you can also completely control it. You can even mutate, increase in attributes, and evolve on the basis of the original limbs. The most important thing is the lives you spliced all come from fate. Even the ghoul arm on the right has completely deteriorated under the constant growth and the ingestion of foreign objects. Apart from the head and 2 legs, you should be considered a life of fate. The Bufo easily saw through Han Dong's body. However, it was normal for an existence like the Bufo to see through the essence. Han Dong was more concerned about the Bufo's words. Bufo, do you mean that you need me to achieve balance? What is the essence of fate? You should have touched on it a little. After all, the surface of your body is imprinted with a terrifying black vortex, which means that you have touched on a very deep area. This thing can help you maintain the balance and make up for your shortcomings. An ancient book with an old toad skin as the cover was delivered to Han Dong through the human form formed by the tentacles. This is? The original copy of the Book of the Dead has long been lost in the depths of the plane of disorder with the chaos disaster. My lord and several other ancient existences, under the circumstances of fruitless searching, relied on their own memories and the exclusive ability of the throne to imitate different types of books of the dead and rename them. The field I am involved in is mainly Feet, the Book of the Dead, leg copy, created with the help of the Atlantis version of the Book of Iban, compared to the copy of the eye that you obtained through unknown means. This leg copy of mine may be very different in learning and training. It will take a long time to get used to it. However, once you learn it, you will no longer be bound by human legs and feet. You will obtain a walking ability that is comparable to the toad-like mantis, or even stronger and more perfect. Necromancer's book, leg copy, staring at the ancient characters imprinted on the surface of the toad skin, Han Dong was so excited that his whole body was trembling. It was a kind of excitement that came from the desire for knowledge. Han Dong had been thinking about what kind of leg he should have. Due to his own ability system, compared to other knights and hybrid demons, it was much more complicated. The fight club that he had recently joined seemed to be able to help Han Dong purify and fuse his chaotic abilities, but it was still a distant matter. Han Dong didn't want to continue introducing new abilities. Thus, he had been looking for purebred legs with no attributes in the Destiny space. Han Dong had actually considered the alien god in Prometheus. However, Han Dong gave up on the idea when he learned that the reason he became a god was because of the black water. He had never had a good target. Moreover, even if he obtained a good leg, he would still need to expand his brain and obtain more weight before he could equip it. His legs had always been Han Dong's weakness. During the battle, Han Dong had been using all kinds of anti-gravity flying abilities to move. If he had to rely on his legs to run, Han Dong was the slowest in the team, and he was slower by more than a little. The acquisition of such a book, as Bufo said, could make up for Han Dong's shortcomings. Even if learning such an evil book caused his legs to be deformed, turning into tentacles or deformed toad legs, Han Dong could still use the camouflage ability to transform into a human. It wouldn't affect anything at all. However, when the toad ancestor handed over the book, he asked a question. This book involves space. However, I seem to be able to smell a strange space aura on you. There are thousands of routes in space, and some routes are not connected. You need to show me your space ability, and I will judge whether you can learn this book or not. Okay, Han Dong's spatial ability wasn't something he had cultivated on his own. Instead, when upgrading Faceless Skull LV3, there was an additional upgrade option due to the absorption of special cells from Dean Richard. In addition to expanding the prison cell, he could also choose to add a void laboratory. The addition of the void laboratory was actually equivalent to adding an additional tentacle attribute. The original gray tentacle could be transformed into a void tentacle to achieve a contact space transfer. Although there was a big gap compared to Meridus's direct transfer, it was still very useful. Whoosh! A transparent tentacle flashing with starlight appeared. Bufo's eyes widened slightly, and the hair floating on his head was all straightened. It's actually the void, the power of the void that symbolizes the universe. What did you get it? Even if your brain perfectly replicated the Chaos Walker, it shouldn't be related to the void. To be able to make an ancient existence like Bufo fall into a certain shock, it was enough to show that the corresponding existence behind the void attribute had a very high status, and even Bufo was difficult to touch. This is the ability I obtained when I came into contact with a life form related to the fiends in the Destiny space through the assimilation and derivation of the head. It seems to be at a very shallow level, and it can only be transferred in the form of touch. It always feels very weak. This is not weak at all. Our Toad Clan space transfer is limited, and we can't use it freely in some areas. And the void tentacles you can summon will not be limited. As long as the tentacles reach the area, you can move freely, and even if it's very shallow, it's enough. The void represents the highest point of space. Above the basic only, there is no problem of exclusion. You should study this book well. Maybe you can go deeper into the void through foot. Your existence is really too special. I even suspect that the owner of the Book of the Dead, I copy, may have deliberately sent the book to the sacred city. He even knew that you would definitely get this book. Well, thank you, Bufo. This is what you deserve, and only you can cultivate it. Take good care of it. As for the wall viewing, it's not suitable for you to do it from high position. I will take you to an ancient temple, and when I was still in the atavistic body, I shed a more perfect outer skin there. After that, Bufo separated from a middle-aged, greasy man made of tentacles and led everyone out of the dark maze and to other areas of Nkei underground world. Toad Ancestor, may I ask if my friends can also observe the wall normally? As long as you absorb the power of the fiends and reach the so-called seed-breaking requirement, you can observe the wall. After all, the system of all things is similar. Even if you humans rely on the growth system given by destiny, the next step is still the gate of truth. Understood. Chapter 1019. Okay, the underground world. Compared to the city on the surface, the underground world was much larger, and there were more hybrid demons living here. Moreover, other than the hybrid demons with Bufo's blood flowing in their veins, there were also a large number of dependents living in the underground world. For example, there were some wormy giants that looked like primitive savages. They lived in the giant caves that they dug themselves. They were usually responsible for digging the caves and moving the boulders in the underground world. There were also some invisible children that wandered around the tunnels, attached themselves to the murals, or hidden in the pools. They had different postures and were constantly changing. They were not only the secret guards of the underground world, but also fatal traps hidden in various areas. Other than that, there were at least 2 types of hybrid demons that depended on K. Most of them were acquired hybrid demons that grew under the influence of eternal night. They did not belong to anyone, but for some reason, they worshipped the Bufo and did not hesitate to travel thousands of miles to K. They were different from those old kings that were illusory and difficult to reach. The Bufo was a middle-level king. Its main body was in the resting place, and it was always paying attention to the situation here. Moreover, as long as one slept in K's area, there was a certain probability that one's consciousness would enter the Bufo's dreamland and see the true appearance of the old king. The luckier ones could even get the Bufo's guidance. It was because of the Bufo's familiarity that there were many dependents. In addition, the hybrid demon's fertility and growth rate were very good, which was why they could create such a huge Nkei, the underground world. It was mainly through the intricate, high and low cave passages and the millions of suspension bridges between the cliffs to achieve basic passage. Under the guidance of the Bufo, everyone stepped on the suspension bridges and moved forward in the longest canyon in the underground world. Whether it was the hybrid demons living in the canyon, or the messengers, merchants, or guards that happened to pass by, they all knelt on the ground in the most devout manner until the Bufo walked out of their sight. Along the way, the hybrid demon kingdom in Han Dong's eyes was indeed very different from human society. However, in such a world of wonders, there were still rules and moral bottom lines. The hybrid demons that live here weren't all bloodthirsty murderers. Most of them were contributing to the development of it. Most of the mantis demons placed Nkei's development and their own strength as secondary. The first was the worship and devotion to the Bufo. Stepping on the suspension bridge, they traveled for several hours in Dark Word Canyon. Although Han Dong really wanted to ask why they didn't use their spatial ability to directly teleport over, but he thought that it definitely involved Nkei's rules and etiquette. He had already been in the Destiny world for more than 2 months, so these few hours didn't matter. It was about a 5-hour journey from the suspension bridge to the cave. There were no stone doors, as if anyone could enter this place. A simple stone temple was built inside the cave. It didn't contain any Nkei technology, and there weren't any other hybrid demons that came to look at the walls. While Han Dong was feeling puzzled, a half-human, half-toad old man wearing a dark, glowing monk's robe walked out of the dilapidated stone temple. He seemed to be the only gatekeeper of the ancient stone temple. He had the appearance of a human, but his skin was covered in pustules. Because of time and assimilation, the toad's skin was as hard as stone. The upper half of his body was as thin as firewood, as if there was only a layer of skin on his skeleton. The lower half of his body was very swollen. His 2 thick and round legs didn't match his skeletal upper body at all. There was another important characteristic. This old demon toad's eyes had been permanently closed by him. Stone spikes had pierced through his eyelids, completely sealing them. The most important thing was that this demon's body was releasing a strong divine aura. Whether it was the density or the nature, it was not something that the 9 pillar gods in Prometheus could compare to. Myth body. No wonder there was no stone door here. With a myth body guarding the stone temple, there was no intruder at all, unless the old king came. When Meritis saw the watcher, she shuddered. A large number of water droplets overflowed from her body, and she exclaimed, "Stone skeleton toad, Holman Rutherford. Big toad." Only toad hybrid demons that had reached the myth body would be given such a title by the Bufo. They were Nkei's highest combat power, and also the Bufo's right-hand man. When the old man saw the Bufo's clone, he didn't completely stick his body to the ground. He just bowed deeply from the bottom of his heart. "My lord, these humans are Nicholas. He is the messenger from the deep sea. He contributed a treasure that can suppress the weariness shackles for me. They will be given a chance to observe the wall. Stone puppet, you will be in charge. My physical body has just come out of the dreamland, and I still need some time to organize and rearrange it. Remember, they're my honored guests. You must ensure their health during the observation period." Yes. With the disappearance of the Bufo's clone, the stone puppet's vision stopped on Meritis for a moment and whispered, "Middle stage atavism, almost reaching the late stage. It will be of great help to you to have such an opportunity to observe the wall. Thank you." Immediately after, the stone puppet looked at Han Dong and Demps with a puzzled expression. However, since this was the Bufo's order, he didn't have to think too much. "Come with me. This stone temple is both the Bufo's hometown and the place where I was born. Don't touch things that you shouldn't touch. Just follow me. Let's go." Everyone followed. Han Dong radiated his perception immediately and confirmed that there was no pollution in the stone temple. His teammates could walk safely in it. At the same time, he asked through private voice transmission, "Miss Mary, who is this big toad?" The stone puppet can be regarded as the oldest batch of toad-like hybrid demons. He is one of the creators of Nkei. Before Nkei existed, the Bufo used this stone temple as his home. He even crossed the door of truth in the stone temple and touched the mythical realm. Rumor has it that there was an ancient human who didn't belong to the same era as you humans. He was once saved by the Bufo and became a slave for life to repay his kindness. He became the most devout follower of the Bufo at that time and was also the founder of the Nkei cult. Due to the torment of illness and age, the Bufo happened to be in a long period of seclusion in his mythical form. The weakness of humans caused him to die in the process of waiting. His soul fused with the stone temple and gave birth to this stone skeleton toad. There is such a rumor. A human from the previous civilization? Maybe we can dig deeper. Chapter 1020. It did not have any independent space, nor did it have a large internal structure. It was just an ordinary stone temple. However, when everyone stepped into the stone temple, they felt like they were being swallowed. Han Dong even guessed that this stone temple had become the external abdominal cavity of the stone skeleton toad to a certain extent. After passing through a 10-meter-long passage, they arrived at the main hall of the stone temple. Your wall observation time is 24 hours. No matter what you gain, you will be forcibly teleported away. Here, Han Dong looked around with some doubts. Not only Han Dong, but even the local Meritus was puzzled. They did not see the expected wall. The Toad Palace at the bottom of the lake, which was once under the jurisdiction of Meritus. Because the Holy City Expeditionary Army would pass by, the Black Beast avatar of the Bufo personally came and stayed in the depths of the Toad Palace for a short period of time and carried out a simple molting process. The toad skin combined with the cave wall to form a unique toad wall structure. At present, the main hall of the stone temple did not have any characteristics of a toad wall. The walls were piled up with square stones. The circular vault with a slightly smaller arc. There was not even a statue for worship placed in the main hall. The whole thing was just like a relatively spacious stone lobby. However, when Han Dong reached out and touched the wall, he found the mystery in it. The reason why there were no characteristics of Toad Wall was because this stone temple was too old. It existed as early as Nkei's establishment and spanned several civilizations. The toad skin had been integrated with the wall in the long river of time. The stone was ordinary on the outside, but the inside was regularly distributed with a lump structure and carried a period of enlightenment from the Bufo. Han Dong just touched a stone brick casually, and it was gone in half an hour. The secret is in every wall brick. The most important thing is time. We can't achieve 100% wall observation in 24 hours. We have to pick out the stone bricks suitable for us in the limited time to maximize the enlightenment. I'll help you find. Han Dong didn't waste any time and immediately inspected each brick. This kind of opportunity could not be bought with money. Even the hybrid demons that lived in Nkei for a long time had to make great contributions before they were allowed to enter this stone temple. The little magic I couldn't see through the Bufo's skin. He could only confirm the insights and experience stored in the stone through direct contact. Because Han Dong's palm quickly moved across the stone bricks, a huge amount of information poured into his brain, causing the faceless skull to swell slightly, squeezing out horrifying spotted tentacles from its 7 orifices. However, Han Dong could bear it. Mia, there's something about insects recorded in this brick. Come here. Mia was very well behaved. As long as it was something that Han Dong verified, she would immediately follow. At the moment of contact, a spiderweb domain was formed. Abel, this stone brick seems to contain the experience of dealing with inner demons. Perhaps it will be useful for you to fight against the beast in your body. In addition, don't be bound by any psychological pressure or chivalry. Whether it's hybrid demons, humans, or life in the Destiny world, the overall growth pattern is similar. The Bufo's insights are extensive. You may be able to find a suitable experience and insight here. The reason why Han Dong said so much was that he saw a kind of hesitation in Abel's eyes. After all, this was something from the hybrid demons. Abel, who grew up in the Knights Regiment, had a certain sense of rejection. The white-haired ear flicked slightly. Abel showed a trusting look and went forward to touch it. For a time, the beast in his body was out of control. It was even strengthened by the contact with the stone and wildly overflowed in the form of liquid gas. The surge of the beast even made the stone temple tremble slightly. The stone skeleton toad showed a surprised expression and immediately suppressed it with its mythical body. Layers of stone pressed the overflowing beast back into Abel's body. After all, the Bufo had told him to ensure the safety of humans. He didn't dare to be careless. Why is there such a thing in a human's body? I remember that this is the wild beast in my era. It's quite good to be able to accommodate this kind of thing with a low-level human body. Han Dong didn't ask further. After all, time was limited. As for Dimps and Mary, they didn't need his arrangement at all. Both of them had found suitable stones to comprehend. Okay, let's find a suitable stone for me. Han Dong's palm slid quickly against the stone wall. Spiritual integration, toad transformation, marine knowledge. The field that the Bufo covers is really broad. Walking and walking, Han Dong suddenly stopped in front of a wall. In Han Dong's eyes, the ordinary stone wall turned into a door that exuded a bloody aura. To be precise, Han Dong could see the door not because of himself, but because of the Earl's consciousness in his body. The things recorded in the stone brick resonated with the Count. This time, there was no quarrel or too much communication. Instead, Han Dong took the initiative to step back. Count, I'll leave it to you. The time has been delayed a lot. Take care of it yourself. Don't you need to do it yourself? I haven't reached the 5th stage yet. Even if I see something here in advance, there won't be much of a breakthrough. You should be almost there. If you can't reach the atavistic body, under such an opportunity, you're too rubbish. Don't even want the title of Scarlet Count. Count, who was still grateful a second ago, was immediately irritated. Are you teaching me how to do things? Hurry up and give me the body. This Count is about to break through. Okay, for a moment, blood overflowed the surface of the body. Consciousness switched. Blood vessels emerged from the bottom of the skin all over the body, automatically constructing 2 well-behaved blood dogs, leaning on the side of the body. Scarlet Count had the potential to far surpass the same level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been granted the precious moving land deed by the blood god. During the time when his complete consciousness remained in Han Dong's head, he achieved a perfect coexistence with Han Dong. He had been growing all the time. Even because of Han Dong's unique body, Count came into contact with more things. The fusion of crazy laughter, the underworld blood necklace, killing Perugia's atavistic rat. Every experience brought Count closer to the door. Now, with the help of the wall observation pathway, Count, who was well prepared, could clearly see his corresponding gate of truth. When he touched the door, an ancient aura swept through his body. As the gate of truth was slowly pushed open by Count's arm full of blood vessels, the fixed concepts that existed in Count's mind were being dismantled. His understanding of blood was also being abandoned. The fixed structure of the body was also slowly becoming disordered. All of this process was pushing Count to the most primitive state, the most ancient posture, which was atavism. When Count completely pushed open the door, it had turned into a pile of bright red meat with an amorphous structure, piled up together without any order. Eyes, big or small, were all over the surface of the meat, staring at the scene behind the door, a domain that could only be stared at and could not completely step into. Chapter 1021. Her consciousness was completely immersed in wall observation, and time passed in a flash. In the blink of an eye, when Meridius opened her eyes again, 22 hours had passed. Her body was completely immersed in the pool formed by the domain, and only half of her head was exposed. She felt a little regretful, although there was a great realization. But if she wanted to break through the myth realm and cross that door, it could not be realized by mere realization. The biggest gain of this wall observation should be that Sir Bufo's experience pointed out the path for me. Since I chose Toad Water, I will go down this path well. If I want to cross the door of truth, The most basic condition is to let myself reach that realm. There is no shortcut. However, through the journey of fate and the stone temple wall observation, I have also improved greatly. At the very least, I would need to train alone for several years, or even several decades. After this, I will be going on an adventure with Nicholas. It will be much more interesting than staying in Toad Palace. Well, why is there a smell of blood in the air? She used half of her head not out of the water to observe the surroundings. Han Dong's 3 teammates had a certain amount of energy release, which was a normal phenomenon during the wall observation period. But Han Dong's situation was an abnormal phenomenon. The wall touched by Han Dong was completely dyed crimson. Moreover, he was not only in contact with a stone brick. A lot of blood overflowed from the surface of his body and came in contact with many stone bricks, so that the stone bricks were dyed crimson. This was a kind of multiple resonance phenomenon, which even changed the structure of the Toad Wall to a great extent. The seemingly normal body had long been a mess inside. The most basic blood vessel arrangement, bone framework, and organ structure were all messed up. In other words, Han Dong's skin was a mess of rotten flesh. The reason why he could maintain the shape of limbs and torso was related to the endurance of the black whirlpool torso. Atavism, evolution. How is it possible? Meritus, who had experienced atavism, immediately interpreted Han Dong's current state, but it was somewhat different. No, it's not Nicholas who is undergoing atavism evolution, but a certain hybrid demon in his body. I remember that this kid completed the seed breaking by killing a mature hybrid demon and deliberately kept the consciousness of that hybrid demon. Was this even possible? His physical body was destroyed, and his consciousness was stored in someone else's body. How could he continue to advance? This is the first time I've heard of such a strange thing. Nicholas, will the hybrid demon in your body still be obedient after it evolves into the atavistic body? Aren't you worried about the backlash? Meritus just watched from aside. She knew very well that Han Dong was not strong enough to be devoured by an atavism physique. As time went by, Dimps and the others were released from the wall-observing state, one after another. Only Han Dong was still undergoing the final evolution. The strands of blood that had spread out retracted back into his body. A blood-stained door frame was woven from the back region, as if a blood door had been opened on the back. The chaotic flesh and blood that had accumulated in Han Dong's body was being reconstructed. A bright red arm crawled out of the door frame at the back. Immediately after, a thin and tall man made purely of blood vessels crawled out and stood back to back with Han Dong. He had no intention of devouring the main body. The familiar piercer eye protector was worn on the thin and tall man's eyes. Atavism physique. The blood vessels all over his body spontaneously constructed large and small blood dog heads, biting each other and trying to bite off the surrounding blood vessels to break free. But for this process, Count seemed to like it very much and did not stop it at all. He abandoned the inherent things, returned to the original state, and reconstructed it through his own consciousness. The atavism physique had been achieved. So this is the scene behind the door. Is this the taste of the atavism physique? It's really comfortable. Nicholas, can you lend me your body to play with for a few days? No. Han Dong did not give any face to Count at all. Before Count could refute, Han Dong continued, I've given you all the wall-observing opportunities. Don't push your luck. Also, now is not the time for you to take over the body. I still have a lot of things to do. You stay in the body and adapt to the changes of atavism. When we leave, it's very likely that we will be directly involved in the expeditionary battle. TSK, since you let this Count observe the wall, I won't argue with you. Count stood back to back and turned back into blood vessels and returned to the body. For a time, bright blood vessels appeared on Han Dong's right arm. Every vein appeared extra clear and regular. Although the essence of the right arm did not change, the blood flowing in it had undergone a qualitative change. Now, the blood dog constructed by Han Dong had directly reached the atavism level. At the same time, it also required a large part of the head to carry the blood dog. It was hard to say how it would be used. Feeling the primitive blood flowing in the body, Han Dong could not help but sigh. Count, this guy has quite a lot of potential. I really want to try the strength of the isomerization blood dog. When I return to the expeditionary army, I might be able to use it directly. Han Dong could not wait to throw himself into the actual combat practice. At this time, the stone skeleton toad in charge of the stone temple reached out and touched the stone mechanism here. A secret passage appeared at the back of the main hall. The time limit is up. Bufo still has something to tell you. Hurry up and go. Okay. Through this secret passage, they only walked 100 meters and returned to the dark labyrinth area. It was only a little more than 10 minutes away from the resting place, where the Bufo's main body was. Thinking about it, the previous 5-hour journey was because the Bufo wanted to show everyone the local customs of it. It seemed that it was indeed a relatively kind old king. They reunited with the Bufo in front of the broken bridge. The deep black, jade eyes stare at Han Dong. The nostrils stretched out from the left and right, opening and closing nostrils, making sounds that everyone could understand. You actually gave the opportunity to observe the wall to the mantis demon in your body and not enjoy it yourself. Your ambition is really big. Han Dong was confused. You don't have to hide anything in front of me. My origin is indeed not as good as that part of the superior. The toad skin is a treasure unique to me and my descendants. It can help other species to advance quickly, but it does have a certain limit. The information recorded in the toad skin is my life's experience. Although it is just beating around the bush, it can be regarded as an indirect guide. Your ambition is to sit in a higher position. You don't even want to walk on the road with any flaws. You completely rely on your own understanding of the world to move forward. Han Dong laughed foolishly and did not say anything more. At this point, our deal is over. Meritus will be the middleman to maintain your contact with MK. Do you need me to send you back to the expeditionary army? Before leaving, can I ask you a few questions, Bufo? Ask away. Bufo, who woke up early and could stay awake for a long time, was in a very good mood. If it was in the past, if someone was so insatiable, they would have become food in his stomach. I mainly have 2 questions. First, the human of the previous civilization, which is the human who served you. What caused their complete extinction? It should not be done by the mantis demons. I heard that the big toad who was in charge of the stone temple was a human who served you when he was alive. Second, what is the state of the city of London in the north of Europe? Chapter 1022. Han Dong's question made the Bufo sink into silence for a while. Are you sure you want to know the answer to these 2 questions now? Yes. Han Dong nodded. But since you asked such a question, you must have guessed something through various channels. Meritus will take you to stay in Biaoqing for a night. Before entering the dream, you need to remove all the defenses in the brain area so that your consciousness can go to the dreamlands naturally and you will get the answer there. Thank you, Bufo. Okay, surface, walking on the neatly arranged street. Meritus looked very excited. Let's stay here tonight. Mary pointed at a Toad City balloon floating in the air. There was a description of it in the previous introduction. Most of the residential buildings in Biaoqing were carried by flesh-shaped balloons and suspended in the air. It was connected to the ground through a balloon line similar to an umbilical cord structure. Everyone also took the umbilical cord and quickly came to the inner space of the flesh-shaped balloon. There was a 4-sided building with a patio structure, which belonged to a large hotel. The boss also heard about these special humans who freed the Bufo from the chains of exhaustion and were rewarded. Without any hostility, he immediately vacated the 5 best rooms for everyone to rest. The influence of wall observation should still be in everyone's mind. Use the opportunity to rest now to digest it. I will also go to the dream later and ask the Bufo about the expeditionary force and the world situation so that we can decide the direction of our next action. Yes, the wall observation brought a great impact to everyone. Even Demps, as the new king, was still in a state of contemplation since the end of the wall observation. He did not speak during the whole process, completely immersed in thinking about a certain concept. Mia was the same. She immediately went to her room, sat cross-legged on the bed, and entered a state of meditation. After all, this is the toad skin left behind by the bufo. It allowed Count to complete the breakthrough of the atavistic body on the spot, which naturally has a great impact on everyone. However, I will follow my own path and not rely on other experiences as much as possible. In other words, the reason why Bufo arranged for me to answer the question in Dreamlands was because he wanted to tell me the answer alone. Or could it be that this answer is forbidden from being leaked to the outside world? Or could it be that the Bufo can only provide me with the answer through Dreamlands? Forget it. I'll know when I enter the dream at night. Han Dong was also quite tired. After being beaten up in the fight club, although he was healed by the Bufo, his body was still very tired. If not for Count's breakthrough, Han Dong would have fallen asleep in the stone temple. Even if I sleep now, I probably won't be able to go to the Dreamlands. I'll save my nap for tonight. I will take a bath first. The scene in the guest room surprised Han Dong. He thought that this place would have the same style as Toad City Street, with bones and meat as the main ingredient. Who would have known that Han Dong and the others would be staying here in advance? The decoration of the guest rooms was basically the same as a human hotel. I'll take a bath first. I'm covered in dust from the underground stone temple. As Han Dong pushed open the door of the bathroom, the gorgeous decorations in the bathroom, the golden toad shower head, and the natural bathtub were all blocked by a mysterious force. A pair of big meat legs on both sides of the bathtub attracted and occupied 80% of the view. Meritus seemed to have entered her own room, but she immediately moved here, waiting to be alone with Han Dong. Perhaps because of the enlightenment brought by wall observation, the big meat legs on both sides of the bathtub appeared more moist, and even the skin surface was covered with a soft luster similar to a lubricant. For such a rare beauty in the world, Han Dong was only slightly shocked, and there was no extra color in his eyes. Miss Mary, don't you need to meditate in seclusion? Absorb the enlightenment from wall observation? That's just the toad skin shed by the Bufo during the early stage of atavism. It's very useful for you, but for me, it can only be said that it's all the enlightenment. If I want to reach the mythical level, I still have to rely on myself. It's rare to have a day off in Toad City. Let me take you for a stroll in the city. I only want to go with you. I don't want to bring your group of friends. K's Biaoqing has a lot of fun things. Anyway, Dreamland is also something that happens at night. All right. Han Dong also wanted to retain his sleepiness so that he could easily enter the dream world. Come in and take a bath? The stone temple is full of dust. It's so dirty. That's true. The water that Meritus soaked in would also improve the water quality. Han Dong did not have any other thoughts. He took advantage of such water to wash his body clean, and at the same time to discuss the enlightenment of wall observation with her. However, just as Han Dong lay down in the soft natural bathtub, because it was too comfortable, fatigue spread all over his body, and he fell asleep directly. Seeing this, Meritus, who was sitting opposite, immediately stretched out her big meaty leg, allowing Han Dong's head to lean on the soft leg. Humph, you're such a good man. You can even fall asleep after bathing with me. Forget it. Seeing that you helped the Bufo contain the mythical shackles, I'll be a little wronged. With water as a medium, it can also allow you to go to Dreamland more smoothly. Splash. Water splashed everywhere. Han Dong, who suddenly sat up in the bathtub, vaguely smelled danger and hurriedly looked around. He found that in the bathtub he was sitting and had fallen into a waterfall cave. Miss Mary, who was supposed to be opposite him, had disappeared. Splash, the strong sound of the waterfall, kept coming from behind. A large number of bats were hanging from the top of the cave. To be precise, it was a humanoid life form with bat wings. Their physique was similar to that of an ordinary person, with rock claws and forked tails, and the tentacles from their mouths wriggled in the air. They were wary of Han Dong, the intruder, but did not dare to go forward. Come in, this is the night demon waterfall of Dreamland, Lake Ubosa. This is the border of the dreamland. Very few kings will come here. Even if I answer some questions that are outside of the rules, I will not be discovered. The Buffo's voice echoed in the cave, and the hybrid demon hanging on the cave wall immediately fell into a deep sleep, unable to wake up, a dream within a dream. Following the voice, he passed through the layers of stone doors. In the deepest part of the cave, in a stone room full of ancient murals, he saw the toad ancestor in human form. Han Dong's guess was right. The answer he wanted was limited, and even if the toad ancestor wanted to answer, it had to be careful. Let me answer your first question. The last generation of human civilization was a long time ago. At that time, humans were quite pragmatic. I had a few good followers who helped me complete the copying of scriptures and the development of the church. Their demise and our slumber. I believe you already have the answer in your heart. You're just confirming it with me. Is it because of the gate of destiny? Yes. Chapter 1023. When the concept of the Black Tower world was introduced into Han Dong's mind, a series of conjectures and inferences slowly formed in his mind. Since the Black Tower world was in charge of countless worlds, it allowed some of the lives in these worlds to act as participants, to travel through other worlds and arrange various missions for them, allowing them to obtain level. Therefore, Han Dong guessed that his own world could also be used as a landing point for other participants to come to this world to do missions. Carrying out a large-scale destiny event, it was completely possible. Moreover, Han Dong already understood that in this world where he was reborn, humans had never been the masters of this world. They were just a group of ordinary species with intelligence and abnormally weak bodies. The true masters of this world were the hybrid demons. According to Han Dong's current understanding of the world level, the world he was in had a universe-level space, trillions of units, and many divinities, and even the old kings who had completely become gods. Such a world would definitely correspond to an extremely difficult destiny event. Of course, it was also possible to carry out a medium-scale event within a limited range. For example, in a title deed city under the hybrid demon's jurisdiction, or in a maze shrouded by the eternal night, or even in the three main cities occupied by humans. In addition, Han Dong also had some guesses about the situation of the previous generation of civilization. Perhaps in the previous generation of civilization. Since the beginning of their existence, humans have been the slaves of the hybrid demons. Because of their high intelligence, creativity, and moldability. As believers, human status among the hybrid demons was not low, and they were even the leaders of various churches. Even though humans' bodies were weak, but due to their high moldability, they could still learn the hybrid demon's knowledge and degenerate to become stronger. This was Han Dong's guess, and the specific situation would be explained by the Bufo. Dreamland, Lake Ubos, Night Demon Waterfall. It was cold and damp, and even air could not penetrate the stone room. The big-bellied human Bufo and Han Dong sat in front of stone table. Even in such a sealed and deep place, the Bufo still spoke through telepathy. From the perspective of humans, the previous generation of civilization is a relatively long time ago. The world cataclysm directly led to the extinction of a human race. Some of the old Wangdu were even implicated and perished. The world's laws were also completely destroyed, and even the current universe was damaged to a certain extent, falling into an unstable state. When the cataclysm ended, for the sake of stabilizing the world, the various leaders headed to different regions of the universe to fill in the gaps created by the cataclysm. Those of us who are related to the dreamscape will work together with the Lord of Sleep in the deep sea, expending a large amount of energy, and resources to create a completely independent dreamscape with complete rules and a healthy ecosystem. Even if the original world couldn't be repaired and was completely shattered, we can also move to the dreamlands and continue to survive. Han Dong's head buzzed when he heard this. What kind of cataclysm could lead to the extinction of the entire human civilization? the fall of the old king, and even the destruction of the universe. A special participant team. Bufo continued. Actually, we had long expected that such a day would come, but because of the vile nature of you humans, you attracted the calamity ahead of time. A human who belonged to one of the old kings. Because of his outstanding talent and prowess at preaching, he was valued by the Mad King, who even we had difficulty communicating with. In the end, this person actually carved his name on the back of the door in a human form and became the first old king who evolved from humans. When he became king, his own desires were infinitely magnified, and he began to build a city that belonged solely to humans. Slowly, he recruited the humans who were enslaved by other hybrid demons. Just like that, about 90% of the human believers who were scattered among the different old kings were separated, and this was the first time in the history of the human race that you humans had become independent. The separated humans went to this new human city and became his people, carrying out his desires and will. After hundreds of years of evolution, this human emperor created a powerful team in an attempt to drive away the other old kings and control the planet where he was. Even in the later stages, he attempted to conquer the entire universe. Desires were endlessly generated in this human's body. Day and night, he was absorbing the faith of all humans. Through different methods of madness, he absorbed the chaotic energy of the universe. In the end, this person fell into a chaotic state that could not be bound by the Universal Treaty and was marked with the Black Tower mark. This was the origin of the Cataclysm. The mark on his body led that special team to our world, and the Cataclysm descended. In this way, Han Dong's first question was answered. Such an answer also made Han Dong deeply shocked. Such an exaggerated answer, Han Dong did not even think about it. The human of the previous civilization actually became one of the old kings through the hybrid demon path. And he even separated the humans from the different forces and created a human empire that was comparable to the hybrid demons. Not to mention the latter question. Just such a story made Han Dong want to get in touch with this human king. But the hybrid demon path is full of madness, chaos, and disorder. This person seemed to have become king in a human form, but in reality, his heart was already rotten and depraved. He was even more depraved than some of the hybrid demons. Come to think of it, the human city built by this person should not be a good place, right? Han Dong could already imagine a city full of desires, chaos, brutality, evil, lust, and other negative emotions. As Han Dong received a large amount of information, he fell into deeper thought, and the Bufo did not disturb him. Come to think of it, the slate that allowed us to understand the hybrid demons also came from this human city. Since this human king wanted to conquer his planet and eliminate the unrelated hybrid demons, it was necessary to collect information. There must be some kind of intelligence department in the human city that specialized in collecting and studying the characteristics of the different hybrid demons. Using the slate that would never be erased, and under the premise of the world law, the relevant military would be arranged to carry out an efficient crusade. It's no wonder that 300 years ago, when the Gate of Destiny reopened, the sleeping hybrid demons that were scattered in the corners of the universe all gathered on Earth at the same time. They occupied and interfered with the Gate of Destiny that appeared and set up military fortresses around it to prevent the cataclysm from happening again. As for why the hybrid demons were massacring the ignorant humans of the new era when they woke up, this was the result of the previous civilization's sins. Fortunately, some of the old kings maintained a neutral attitude, which allowed 1% of the humans to survive in the three main cities. They indirectly helped the hybrid demons to guard the Gate of Destiny. Perhaps one of the old kings was willing to give the humans another chance, or perhaps they saw that the humans could enter the Gate of Destiny and purposely left some humans to explore the Gate of Destiny. Phew, no wonder Mr. Black and White repeatedly told me to wait until I have enough power to uncover the deeper secrets. Chapter 10:24. Han Dong pondered for a few hours in the Dreamlands after getting the answer to his first question. While a large amount of information was being injected into his brain, Han Dong's brain continued to expand. Even though he was curious as to what kind of party had almost destroyed this world, Han Dong did not ask. After all, he had already decided on the two questions, and it would not be a good thing to push his luck in front of the Toad Ancestor. Next up was the next question. What is the state of the city of London in the north of Europe? Ever since the arrival of the old king and his playful attitude towards the expedition, Han Dong began to suspect the ultimate goal of the Great Expedition. Was it really just to use the information provided by the slate of the old king to travel thousands of miles to the city of London to kill the old king? No. Perhaps the intention behind the Great Expedition was more important and involved important decisions of the Holy City. Perhaps the expedition to the city of London had discovered some important information on the Slate of Darkness. If the Bufo said that there was no problem and that Han Dong was overthinking, then he would return to the expedition as usual and continue the expedition. If there was really a problem, Han Dong would have to think about other things. Since you asked about the city of London, it seems that you humans are also hiding something. Now you have the right to know. After all, you encountered a team of dark dwellers in the Fate event. According to Merida's description, you have already had deep contact with them. About a year ago, a group of participants appeared in the city of London. What? Although Han Dong had guessed it, he did not expect it to really happen. However, the matter is not particularly serious. The group of participants is very average, and their activities are limited to the city of London. But they also caused a certain number of deaths among the hybrid demons. This is also the first time in the 300 years since the reappearance of the Gate of Fate that the participants have invaded the city of London. The information given by the Bufo was like a huge stone falling into a pool of water in his heart, splashing a large amount of water. Could it be that the expedition's purpose is not to attack the city of London, but to verify? To verify whether our world has been connected to the Black Tower and become one of the worlds in Fate travel? No, there might be some other purpose, but there's definitely a need for verification. At this point, Han Dong already had an answer to his next move. Bufo, when the time comes, please send us to a place. Are you not going back to your human army? I really want to go back and experience the life of the Great Expedition. However, my return wouldn't bring much improvement to the expeditionary army. It will be better to build a bridge in advance. Please distribute the Bufo twice. For the first time, I sent my friends back to the expeditionary army and told them that we were safe. At the same time, I asked them to tell the expeditionary army commanders about our experiences, and for the second time, please send me and Meridas to London. Sure. Thank you, Bufo. Bufo placed his palm on his bald head and stroked it. Since your question has been answered, I also have two questions that I would like to know the answer to. Excuse me, Bufo. If I know the answer, I'll definitely answer. Han Dong stared at the middle-aged, greasy man who was dribbling with one hand. If he didn't know beforehand, he wouldn't have imagined that this was a powerful old king. The restriction of weariness shackles on me has been reduced to 20% because of the green jade you brought back. This way, I'll have more free time and I'll be able to manage both the real world and the dreamlands at the same time. How did you obtain such a precious brain-calming jade? According to my understanding of fate, individuals can only enter worlds that match their level. The world you entered was at most atavistic body level, so there shouldn't be such a jade. The information about the Black Tower couldn't be leaked. Han Dong could only point at the black vortex on his body. I've also considered Bufo's level, so you definitely wouldn't be able to use anything from the Fate world. I spent all my points to exchange for this jade from a group of special organizations through a series of fortuitous encounters. Bufo also knows that I returned in a half-dead state. This is the price I paid to exchange for this jade. Bufo was quite satisfied with such an answer. He placed his hand on Han Dong's shoulder. Whoosh! He teleported Han Dong out of the secret room. He arrived at the top of the Night Devil's waterfall. From there, he could see the scenery of Ubos Lake. He could even see some elf-like mermaids playing in the lake. Occasionally, he could hear some strange howls behind him. A few hunched Luna beasts were walking through the forest. The sky was filled with kind-hearted stars and colorful rivers of stars. Occasionally, nightmares could be seen flying across the sky in the form of incantations. Dreamland's Han Dong was immediately attracted by the beautiful scenery in front of him. Just like what Bufo said, this was an independent space created by many old kings in the deep sea. Even if the original world was destroyed, everyone could move back to live here. Second question, where did your brain come from? Just as Han Dong was immersed in the beautiful scenery, a question pulled him back to reality. Facing the amiable Bufo, there was nothing to hide. Furthermore, Han Dong was also looking for answers about the brain. Perhaps he could get some important information from a Bufo. I found my brain in a prison. As for what kind of prison it was and why I appeared in that prison, I'm not sure. The only thing I know is that the original owner of this brain should be the prison manager. When I found the brain, the prison disappeared. The head of the prison manager, does the Bufo know anything about it? I'm not sure. After all, I've been bound by burnout for a long time and spent most of my time living in the dreamlands. The information you provided could not be found in my brain. I think you'll have to ask the gray guy personally to find out where the brain came from. I thought that the guy separated the brain from his body. After all, his ability is very unique even among the higher beings. All right, that's all for now, Nicholas. Since you've decided to go directly to London with Meritus, according to the information I have, your expedition team is still some distance away from London, and there are several important cities in between. No matter how fast you travel, it will take at least half a year. I suggest you stay in Toad City for 3 months and study the Book of the Dead, leg copy, seriously. At the same time, I'll give you certain privileges, allowing you to move quickly between different areas in K. It'll be beneficial for your learning and understanding. Even though London is only under the jurisdiction of the Old Kings, the danger level there is much higher than here. As the first invasion area, other than you, there might be other forces secretly heading to London. Be prepared before you go. Okay. Chapter 1025. The first stop of the Great Expedition, the second city of Italy overseen by mythical entities, Minano, would arrive in 2 days. When they stepped onto the plains where the city of Minano was located, their marching speed immediately slowed down. At the same time, led by the wolves of Evernight, they increased the frequency of their investigation of the surrounding area, reducing the possibility of encountering spatial traps and ambushes. The Great Expedition had been going on for more than 2 months. The negative effects of long-term exposure to Evernight also appeared in the army. Every day, a large number of knights needed to be prayed and baptized. The mobile sanctum, overseen by the leader of the Holy Knights, Olivia, already had a rather serious queue 10 days ago. This forced the expeditionary army to set up camp temporarily and let the accompanying machinery faith technology expand the sanctum. With the huge sanctum suspended in the air as the center, a series of suspended corridors were connected to build many small branches of the church. With the successful construction of the branches, the load on the sanctum decreased to below normal. At this time, a demon messenger from the Knights of Misfortune came to the door. In an instant, Olivia's body completely turned into holy light and dissipated in the sanctum. The next second, she directly appeared in the core building of the Expeditionary Army, Great Demon Castle. The commanders of the Expeditionary Army were all gathered here. In the upcoming Battle of Minano, a commander would be appointed to participate in the battle. A city overseen by a mythical entity was equivalent to a commander. According to the rules of the world, a commander could participate in the battle. According to the stone slab, Minano is a city dominated by pagans. At the same time, it is also a city of absolute blasphemy. Even though we are still hundreds of kilometers away from this city, the eye of the expedition has already captured the air of filth, poison, decay, and absolute blasphemy. This battle is very important to our expeditionary army. We need a clean and beautiful victory to realize our value in this world and raise our status in Evernight. Only by making these ancient things value our existence can we finally achieve that conversation. I suggest that this battle of blasphemy be handed over to Commander Olivia. Holy light is an ability unique to us humans, and it is also an absolute weapon against blasphemy. However, the great demon's suggestion was immediately refuted. The Saintess is only participating in the great expedition. She is mainly responsible for the purification work. How can we let such an important person go to a city overseen by a mythical entity alone? Let me do it. I haven't exercised for more than 2 months. Malone revealed an eager look. Ever since he became the earthly sovereign king, he had never truly fought a powerful hybrid demon head-on. However, a gust of deathly energy transformed into an arm and forcefully pulled Malone back. Since the great demon is the commander, let's do as he says. Besides, Olivia is the best choice for the first battle. Furthermore, Minano is the first mythical-level city that we're attacking. Something unexpected might happen. We can only ensure that this battle will not be affected if we guard the periphery. How boring. After a small commotion, the great demon commander continued to ask, Saintess, are you willing to take on this heavy responsibility? Of course. Disperse. Suddenly, a strong spatial pressure came over. A gentle power of holy light pushed everyone away to prevent them from being sucked into the spatial rift in the middle of the hall. At the same time, a high-level holy light barrier enveloped everyone, greatly reducing the invasion of the contamination. Even though all 6 commanders were here, everyone's expression was unpleasant. From the spatial rift in the middle of the hall, only the Grim Reaper and Malone could barely match the aura that leaked out. The old king? Malone immediately demonized, an ash crown appearing on top of his head. Alex was also covered in a black cloak, floating in the air, holding a silver scythe in his hand. The spatial protection barrier set up by the Eye of Expedition was completely ineffective. As the spatial rift stabilized completely, it directly turned into a toad's mouth full of lumps and saliva. Then, 3 young people covered in mucus walked out from within. They were Abel, Demps, and Mia, who had been missing for 3 months. Then, the spatial rift closed, and the strong spatial pressure disappeared. You guys really didn't die? When the great demon commander saw that his most valued Demps had returned, he revealed a gratified smile. Where's Nicholas? Commander Xiaya immediately searched for Han Dong's traces. After all, that kid still owed her a debt and said that he would accompany her during the expedition. But he disappeared without a trace during the battle at the wetlands and didn't bring back any information. Although Xiaya knew that with Han Dong's ability, it was impossible for him to disappear like this, but she was still somewhat worried these 2 months. 2 hours passed. Dempus gave a clear account of everything that had happened, including participating in the Destiny Realm under the name of Bufo, as well as a series of experiences in Toad City, and even the matter of wall observation. Hearing this, the commanders present felt that it was inconceivable. They also clearly felt that the 3 people's strength had increased greatly. Not to mention that Abel was equipped with an epic ring. Although they had long heard that the old king of Australia, Bufo, had a good temper compared to other hybrid demons and was an absolute neutral, they didn't expect that he would be so friendly to a few ordinary humans. As for Nicholas, the Bufo purposely left him in K to learn and train. When the time is right, he will be sent back. Don't worry about this. I'm sure that Nicholas will be fine. It's good that he's fine. Due to his long disappearance and his connection with the hybrid demons, later on, you will have to undergo a comprehensive examination in the church. Okay, Biaoqing. Han Dong was still sleeping in his bed. Because it was his first time entering the Dreamlands, he needed to rely on his brain to accept the system of the Dreamlands, and he also obtained a lot of information from the Bufo. Although he seemed to be sleeping, his brain was still working at full capacity. Han Dong woke up once when the Dreamlands ended. He was extremely confused. He only remembered that he was lying in the bathtub, and his head seemed to be resting on Miss Mary's fleshy thigh. Other than that, he didn't see anything clearly. Then, a soft tongue-like thing sucked the water off the surface of his body, and he was transferred to a large bed for a normal sleep. He slept all the way until noon. Just as the sleepy Han Dong slowly woke up, he found that he was still resting on a thigh. However, this thigh didn't seem to have that much water, and it was fat and rough. There were some large lumps on the surface. "Mary, did you reveal your true form?" However, when Han Dong slowly woke up, he found that Miss Mary was kneeling on the ground. Her head was completely pressed against the ground. "Whose leg is this?" Han Dong reached out to wipe off the saliva on his thigh, and his vision slowly moved upwards. A bald, fat middle-aged man came into view. "Bufo." The Bufo habitually touched his bald head and looked at Han Dong with a smile and asked kindly, "You're awake? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.